Welcome, everyone, to the start of the HTL Cup playoffs. Qualifying underway for the HTL Southern 500 here on ABN Esports 1. 7 races to go, 16 drivers fighting for a championship. Who has the advantage after tonight? We will find out. I'm Carmen, Sienna, alongside me Kevin Young, Kristina Ryan, our regular producer, and Joe Cortez, our normal lead commentator, away at this time. We'll be back next week for Atlanta. But qualifying underway, so Richard Odie completing his qualifying run at the moment. Josh Susi now on a qualifying effort. But Kevin, 16 drivers going for a championship. We just saw the ARC's HTL Cup Series championship conclude. So you're very familiar with the playoff format. What are we looking forward to heading into a race here in Darlington?
Well, it's going to be quite interesting to say the least. First of all, just want to say, love that vibe Hello Kitty scheme that we see on Joshua Sosi. Keeps wrecking different Hello Kitty schemes. But to go to your question in hand there, Carmen, personally, it's the kind of people love and hate the NASCAR playoff system, but when it can click, it can bring in some entertaining moments, especially when it boils down to the end of the year. Right now, obviously, we're setting the tone. 16 drivers fighting for a chance to make a championship. We even saw it last week where Martin Roberg missed out on the championship and possibly winning an in by just a couple points. But now we're going to have 3 rounds, another 3 rounds, and then the finale at Fontana. And for a lot of drivers, with the win in your in system not being you have to make all 3 rounds to make it count, someone could maybe win like we were seeing in the power rankings earlier, like a Caitlin Height or someone else winning a race and having to accidentally miss a race and then having to try to get enough points to scrape in to try to make it above that line. It's going to be very tight. It's going to be very competitive. And with the tracks being obviously Darlington, the Southern 500 tonight, Atlanta, and Kentucky, Atlanta's a wild card race that anyone could maybe pull off a Hail Mary throw to give themselves another chance to fight for a championship in that next round. And with the Watkins Glen, Chicago, and Bristol as well, it could play a lot for us. So overall, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be fun. And when we come to Fontana in about 8 weeks' time, 4 drivers will be fighting for one championship, and it's going to be all hands on deck to see who hoists the trophy at the end of that race.
Absolutely. Obviously, qualifying underway. We're having issues with our overlay that we're looking to get resolved here quickly. But right now, this is Elias Flores on the qualifying deck at the moment as racing continues to resume here in Darlington. We have Connor Morris top of the board effectively with a 30.39. Josh Susi setting a time very similar. David Smeal, Zach Apperson have also set qualifying times. Flores goes 4th fastest, only 1 qualifying lap in HTL Cup Series qualifying, and it's a 1 lap and run through for every track coming forward except for Bristol, which gets 2 laps. So everyone knows that they've got just that 1 solid shot. DeMonte Dotson now on the clock in qualifying here. Not a very expansive field in qualifying, so everyone able to count their stars that it's not going to be as abrasive a penalty if you don't have a good starting position here tonight compared to what it normally would have been had you have been, at a place obviously like Daytona last week even, where you would have seen that.
Also, I believe Watkins Glen will also have it slightly different as they do timed qualifying, like a 15-minute session at the Glen. Obviously, could be wrong on that one, but they did it at the other road courses, so we'll have to wait and see. But other than that, it's pretty much going to be this one-shot quality that we've seen throughout the year. And considering that it can make or break you sometimes, we've seen throughout runs, throughout situations, drivers having one good chance, one good moment, and then making a slight mistake. In certain tracks, that can be detrimental to try to carve way for the field, where passing could be not at a premium. Right now, we're focusing on Chad Swadsworth, the driver that would love to make the Final Four at Fontana, considering that it's a track that is in his wheelhouse, even though he's yet to find a victory at Fontana. It will have to see how he plays out, but obviously a long way to go before we can get there. You do not want to count the check-ins before they hatch. One more thing to note as well, if you can see on that number 18 machine, drivers that are in the HTL playoffs have a very bright blue on their splitter and on their main, a lot of different body parts there you can see from the wings, the splitter. That signifies a chase driver that is currently fighting for the playoffs. So keep an eye out for that when you see cars going on the tracks. That will be your lead indicator to see who is fighting for a championship and who is not. Swatsworth goes P4, but Josh Arnold, who just completed a lap before him, just went top of the board with a 30.39. Now pivoting on to Eli Sasek, will be the next of 2 cars hit the track, the other being Bailey Thompson, that will be taking the other seat in the number 27.
Yeah, a lot of drivers ready to roll here in Darlington. Obviously qualifying in the daytime, the race will be transitioning from evening to nighttime. So drivers will have to adjust to the ever-changing and ever-cooling scenario on track here. Fighting the elements on track more than you're fighting the cars around you. That typically is how Darlington goes in that ever-present chase. As we look up at the 9 car to see where Sasek can put that Ford Mustang for Ascent Racing across the line. This lap will be good enough for just P6. Not a very tall lap there for Sasek there. Thompson across the line, the 27. Still running the throwback from Daytona. Goes up to P4.
Good run by Bailey there. Just for viewers at home that may be a little bit wondering, that is the same driver of the same car, just going by a different name now. In the same point with Eli Sasek, though, and his run as well. Had a great run, but being winless right now is probably something that at least holds on his mind at least a little bit. 2 years since he's gotten his last victory. You know for a fact he's a bit hungry with the playoffs coming around and the competition having to step up. Definitely one driver that's looking to do that. Next up are 2 more playoff drivers as well. The 29 of Alfred Denny. He'll be the first of 2 here. Denny made it in through relatively ease, but had at least have a little bit of a sweat at Daytona, but not as a sweat run that Dustin Hall had to do, considering that he could have been easily out if Broberg or someone else won, as it looks like we do have the graphics finally working. And as you can see on the side, like, yeah, but it's working now. And to kind of go over the point I was saying, if you see a name in a light tealish blue, light blue, that is a driver in the playoffs. But if it's in a dark blue, it is going to be a driver that's not in the playoffs, just running for pride and or fun and other owner standings, among other things. But we see Denny coming across the line now, P10 for the number 29 machine of Alfred Denny. Good run by him, but going to be the slowest of all 10 cars. Dustin Hall going to be the next one here to finish his run here, looking to try to make up for a bit of a shaky regular season. And he'll only slot his car into P9. So that's something that is worth noting around these kind of track and these situations. As the run goes on, the track conditions change. And when they change, it could catch certain drivers out if they get a unlucky draw, depending on where they end up firing out based on last week's performance.
Right now you're looking at Casey Wygent here, the 00 for Coast to Coast Racing, second in the points going in. We'll talk about points after qualifying gets through here, because a lot of changes in the playoff format. Typically, it's a 12-person playoff format. This season, 16. That's why you see more people in the playoffs than not. With the smaller field size, I think we're looking at 26 cars for this race. Typically, HTL Cup Series fields, closer to about 32 or so on. The cars, we had 38 at Daytona 2 weeks ago. So 16 drivers with a chance. Pacey Wygent, one of those. He was in the fight for the Owners' Championship last season and was denied there by Josh Susie, who got both the Driver and Owners' Championship there. Dean Clavitt on the track now, also in the playoff hunt. Could be his one and only genuine swing at an HTL Cup title, the HTL Truck Series points leader, with their regular season finale tomorrow at Atlanta.
Atlanta being an interesting track as well. Obviously, Clavitt trying to be maybe possibly no other driver has done win a title in 2 HTL series in considerate weekends. Obviously, if Wygent does it, he would be the first truck driver to win a championship and the Cup as well. But we'll have to see how it all plays. Still a long road to go. Clavitt goes P4 on the track. Pacey Wygent has a little bit of a better run, but still, overall, though, it's still Josh Arnold running the board here. And looking at the power rankings before we came in, some drivers were maybe a bit sleeping on Josh Arnold, per se, as he's been a bit of a fireball, to kind of quote the article. And overall, he's definitely someone to keep an eye out for, as we saw him in the Final 8, and he came within a shout of making the Final 4 last year, so definitely can't count him out. Next up, the number 44 of Jeremy Brault made it in as the last driver in last year. Obviously a strong driver when it comes to it, but some temperance and along with some issues making the track week in and week out due to other commitments, he's going to have to put on some good runs here. But when he's on, he is definitely on. A driver you cannot sleep on when he's out here. The other driver being Blake Henderson as well. Mr. Consistent, we talk week in and week out about him trying to break that winless streak. We'll see if any luck can come today in another prestige race here in the Southern 500.
Yeah, Blake Henderson, one of the longest winless droughts for drivers that have race wins. It's been 63 races since he's won a race. And this is a format where a win is so very valuable. We're going to see what can be done here from Jeremy Brault. It looks like we don't have his paint available here. So let's see if we can get that changed here.
Oh yeah, it is a different scheme. So yeah, I got the Smeal Racing design scheme. So he is running something.
No, that's all good. Just had to pull everything back up there. Part of the process of correcting the overlay was correcting all the cars as well. And that's what we're working on at the moment. But right now, that was Brault going not the way he wanted to in that qualifying session there. His qualifying run, not even good enough for top 10, 11th place there. Lilac Zier now on the board. Entering the track now along with Lily Peltier-Sharp. Teammates for Stepping Stone Motorsports, both in the playoffs. Peltier-Sharp in the 71, Zier in the 50. Only Stepping Stone car that did not make the playoffs was the 57, which right now is being driven by Lily Frazier. We'll see Frazier later on in qualifying, I do believe. Yes, we will.
Yes. Considering the fact that both Zier and Sharp are both fighting for a championship last night in the A² Cup Series, which Zier just hit the wall there, could possibly lead to invalidation if I saw it right. But considering back to my point though, if you want to watch that A² broadcast, you can check out all the races on the YouTube channel. But it was a thrilling championship fight. Both drivers had their highs and their lows. With Zier, she ended up coming home in a third, and Peltier-Sharp was within maybe 10 laps of getting a first championship in a APN broadcast series, but just came a little bit too short on that run, and she's probably still feeling a little bit of that emotion. But overall, I think she's definitely, if I had like a list of sleepers, she'd probably be my #1 choice, considering the fact that she has shown that she can put it up and show the best performance when the going gets tough. Right there, you saw Lilac Zier finish her run. She'll go to P2, putting the top of the front row along with Blake Henderson. 2 good runs by both drivers. Next up, Hunter Peach, number 21, Atlanta during the regular season. Obviously, Atlanta is in this round, so could be in a good shout to maybe try to clinch his ticket next week if he can make all 3 races. He will be flanked on the track. Actually, he's the only driver on the track at the moment. Yeah. So we'll see what Hunter Peach can do here as he now is on his 1 flying lap.
Yeah, Henderson pole position. Henderson got his first pole earlier this season. Now this could be his second if one of the drivers coming up next doesn't take him off that list. Hunter Peach, definitely a contender to try to go for pole. He doesn't have one this season. And the 20 Toyota out of turn 4 to finish this lap. Tidy lap for the 20 of Hunter Peach. And the NFG Motorsports driver goes P2, dispatches Zier, but keeps Henderson top of the board. With Lily Frazier up next. And this is a driver, this is a car that's had a roulette wheel of drivers in it. Constantinu stepped down after becoming unable to race. Obviously, multiple issues as far as latency, as far as just connectivity issues. Was parked on 3 different occasions. So Constantinu had to stand down to avoid any issues and just kind of let the team try to salvage something with that 57 car. Frazier stepping in now. We'll see at least the majority of the playoffs through with that 57 car. Running a Kit Kat scheme right now and really struggling on this lap to put things together. Frazier ran a partial schedule with Arrowhead Racing in the 11, stepped down in the hunt for the HTL Truck Series Championship, so still actively fighting for a title on Tuesday nights, but also working on Monday nights to help the Stepping Stone Motorsports crew. Frazier's top spot is going to be, I believe, a potential invalidation there for Frazier. 153.24 was the last lap time, but we're getting indications that it was not a valid lap time. So Frazier will be one of those starting from the back of the field with an invalid lap time there in qualifying. Anytime you tag the wall, it invalidates lap time, basically puts you at 0. And that looks like what Frazier is at right now. So Frazier will come down pit lane and come to a stop at the pit entry. And
I can't confirm that she did hit the wall out of 1 and 2, which we've seen to be a bit of a tricky spot that may be something that will catch these drivers out on the main race. So 1 and 2 was the tricky spot where she kind of hit it halfway through, and that left invalidation. Only a slight kiss, but it was just enough to cause an invalidation. Doesn't take much for that to happen here. So she sits on the pit lane. We're kind of a bit of a standstill here.
Yeah, because we don't see any cars in the queue.
Is that the end of possibly qualifying? Because Gaiman just joined, but everyone else... Actually, there's still some drivers... Yeah, no, qualifying's not done. There's still like half a field left. My mistake.
So that's what I was trying to figure out here. So let me see if I can grab the qualifying order here, because we've had 16 cars set a qualifying time. Obviously, Daytona was
Sessions
last
advancing.
week.
So Sessions advancing. So it's qualifying done. So Henderson has got pole. Because the time it just rats out on the pumpkin clock, I think. Yep, it just did. This is weird situation.
This is so bizarre.
Advanced. Yeah, because some drivers invalidated. Gaiman joined late. We saw Dots and a few others take attempts. So some of them must have just not validated or had penalties that had to serve, because we know some have qualifying penalties.
This is going to be a very interesting qualifying order, to say the least. But with qualifying underway, Blake Henderson gets the second pole of the season. See if he can turn that into a race win tonight. Good luck from outside the Darlington Raceway there as we pull up the points for this race. This is the playoff standings going into this race, and it is a very interesting one. Josh Susi leads the board with 3,029 points. All the playoff drivers are reset to 3,000. The bonus points you get for stage wins and race wins. Susi also getting the regular season championship in that boat as well. So this is what it looks like going into tonight. Susi has the advantage with 3,029 points. Susi, Caitlin Height, Josh Gaiman, all of them having race wins this season. They jump ahead of Lilac Zero and Eli Sasic. Lilac Zero was top 4 in the regular season, but no wins and no stage wins either. Sasic 6th, Shad Swatsworth in 7th, Hunter Peach 8th, then it's Lily Pelletier Sharp, Dean Clavitt, Dustin Hall, and Blake Henderson, your top 12 there. Obviously top 16 in the championship standings. Zach Meredith, Alfred Denny, Jeremy Braille, Josh Arnold. They are also in that group as well. Josh Arnold at the very bottom has the most to work on here tonight. Martin Roberg, the first one out, obviously gutted with how the finish of Daytona went 2 weeks ago. Tommy Reynolds, who had a lot of wins, missed too many races, fell out, also not present tonight. Bailey Thompson in 19th, DJ Trout in 20th, Austin Mongol, Lily Frazier, who we mentioned, has the ability to still climb up the rankings and try to become one of those top 20 drivers in the HTL Cup standings by the end of the season. Matthew Boone, the former Season 2 champion, in 23rd. Bobby Blowers also in 24th. I believe Blowers is also present for tonight's race in the 94 machine.
Yes.
For tonight. Dotson, Withers, Gibney, Donaldson, Apperson, Wanzing, Odie, obviously Flores, Pendel, William Britton, Bianca Constantinou. Yours truly in 36th. I'm really overachieving with the results we put in there in 36th. But you see there, as we kind of go back and we reset the standings there, all of the drivers are marked in cyan. That's the playoff color for the HTL Cup Series. In the Truck Series, it's I believe it's gray.
Yeah. I was gonna say
we'll have to go over that here momentarily for tomorrow, because the regular season ends tomorrow there. But this is what everything looks like going in for the race there. So Josh Susi has the advantage. He's going to try to protect it, but he's not going to be able to start from the front of the field. We'll go over the starting grid here momentarily. But for everyone tuning in, again, this is the Darlington Raceway. This is the HTL Southern 500. 223 laps await the field here in Darlington Raceway. I think it's 228 laps.
Yes, it is.
But a long race, long night here in Darlington Raceway. We're glad you're with us for everything going on here. Warm-up underway. So we're going to take the last opportunity here just to refresh everything and get ready to go for the Southern 500. And obviously, this is a track that is very special to a lot of drivers. We just saw the actual Cup Series race here to determine the drivers that got into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. You have a little bit more experience with this track than I do. How difficult is it to start off a playoff here at Darlington, a track that is probably the most demanding of the 7 races on the calendar? We have Bristol, we have Watkins Glen, Kentucky, Chicagoland, Fontana, Atlanta next week. But it starts here at Darlington, a track that's known for eating tires, for eating bodywork, and spitting it all out together in one lump sum with no remorse. How difficult is it knowing that this is also the longest race of the season by mileage?
It's probably, it takes a ability of endurance to really get around here. Even though they're virtual cars, you still have to keep the foot down and keep it pinned. And considering the fact, unlike, you may say, well, Atlanta's a bit more of a harder track. That track at least has a fast pair if you end up getting in a wreck that may not be your own. Looking at Watkins Glen, road course can be a struggle for some of these drivers, but with being able to sometimes be able just to play in your spots and get your marks, sometimes when other drivers make mistakes, you can capitalize. But with Darlington, it's an oval. A lot of drivers here are specialized at driving on ovals and know how to play it out, but when it eats tires, comes single file lines, and the sun setting, the tempers can flare a little bit. If one driver maybe gets a little too slow off a corner, they could end up getting hooked, and that could be day done. And next thing you know, coming out tonight, you may have a points lead, but it may end up going up into smoke and tithers if you're not careful with how you manage the car. Warm-up has officially concluded here, and we are going to get ready for the main event of the evening, 228 laps of Darlington, coming up in just a few seconds here.
Absolutely. It's time for the showdown in South Carolina. It is a tradition that HTL holds dearly, starting off the playoffs here in Darlington Raceway on Labor Day weekend for the first time. So let's go down the starting grid, shall we? It's going to be Blake Henderson on the front row of the field. Pole position for the second time in his HTL career. And again, this is a driver that has done over 100 races in HTL, only 2 pole positions, one of them tonight. He starts alongside Hunter Peach, 2 playoff drivers. Again, keep an eye on those that are marked in cyan, the light blue on your screen right now, and those marked in the royal blue, the darker blue later on the screen. Row number 2 is going to be earmarked by Lilac Zier and Josh Arnold, 2 amazing looking race cars, especially Josh Arnold, a new look for the playoffs here for Coast to Coast. Looking to go from 16th on the playoff grid to the final 4. If he can get there, it's got to go through Darlington first. Row 3, looking further down the order, for the first driver outside the playoffs, Connor Morris, filling in for what was Jimmy Breo's ride at the start of the season, the 74, alongside Josh Susie, the reigning HTL Cup Series champion. They sit on row number 3. Row 4 is Dean Clavitt and Bailey Thompson. Thompson once again running the throwback from Daytona, the renowned Mazda throwback there. Dean Clavitt, the snap-on number 90. Could this be his only chance at an HTL Cup championship? Time will tell. But we do know he is going for the double. No one's done it yet. Clavitt could be the first. Row 5, the top 10, is finished up by Chad Swatsworth in the 18 and David Smeal Jr. once again in the number 8 machine for Cali Height. Eli Sasek, just outside the top 10 in qualifying, starts alongside of Ascent Racing teammate Elias Flores. They occupy row number 6. Jimmy Brale on the grid alongside Dustin Hall. They are in row number 7. Row number 8 is Zach Apperson and Alfred Denny. Denny in the number 29. The patriotic Budweiser scheme. Zach Apperson, a new look away from the Ghost Energy that we are so used to seeing. A new look for him tonight. Caitlin Height in the 3. Off the heels of Charles Leclerc's win in Monza, Caitlin Height also running a Ferrari paint scheme in homage there. Zach Meredith, another look as well at the Jones paints in design. Number 17, they're in row 9. Row 10, the top 20, earmarked by Bobby Blowers in the 94, and Pacey Legend, the 00, starting in 20th spot. Row 11, DeMonte Dotson and Richard Odie, they sit on that row all alone. Josh Gaiman and Lily Pautier Sharp sit in row 12, some of the lowest starting qualifying drivers on the grid. Caleb Carter and Lee Frazier, row 13, both of them invalidated their lap times. Carter in that new Jumpman, the 55 car, Frazier in the 57 Kit Kat machine we saw in qualifying. Austin Mongol, 27th and last in this field. One of the first ones to qualify, did not set a valid lap time He will start from the back of the field. That may not be the worst thing in the world. And something to note, Connor Morris and EOL he will serve. So he'll drop down outside the top 5 that he started in to 27th for the start of this race. But it is almost showtime here in Darlington Raceway. It's the Lady in Black. For a good reason. How many cars get away unscathed in one piece? We're going to find out. It's Blake Henderson and Hunter Peach, front of the field. The first race in the HTL Cup Series playoffs is underway. We're racing in South Carolina.
As they come off a Ford and lap number 1, it's going to be Blake Henderson who is going to take the lead here and lead the first lap. Blake Henderson, one thing kind of note as well about Henderson is out of the 4 crown jewels on the year, Blake Henderson has taken 2 pole positions, both those crown jewels. Just a bit of a fun fact there, hoping to maybe get one of those crown jewels into a victory. Right now you can see a little bit further back, Swatsworth and Thompson having a bit of a battle there, side by side for P7 on track. Swatsworth moving forward right now as we speak, knowing a playoff driver cannot get stuck too long into the dirt, have to make as much inroads as possible to make sure you get to the end for the stages and get some all crucial stage points, because it could always make the difference between making it in and not making it in. Further there you can all see in the wide shot, Braille gets in the wall just a tiny bit, allowing David Smil Jr., Dustin Hall, trying to make a mistake there, make a move around that number 44.
Yeah, Dustin Hall, a driver that is someone that we looked at. We talked about the power rankings available on abnesports.com. We sort of deep dived into all of the playoff drivers in this field going into the night. Dustin Hall, one of the biggest surprises, at least for me. Obviously, I've not been in the booth that much this season. I've sort of been in the car more than not. Dustin Hall, someone that going into the season we thought would have some race wins built up, would have some bonus points, would be securely in the playoffs. That was not the case by anywhere close. Had to rely on points at Daytona, both on the road course and the oval, to try to get into the playoffs. And now in on a charge here at a track that he enjoys. It's trouble for Flores.
Yeah, Flores going down the wall there. No caution call. He stopped. Single car incident on the front stretch. There is the fender. He will continue on here. Not elect to tow here. Thinks the car is good enough to drive around. He's got to be careful here, trying to limp it around here to make sure he doesn't get into trouble here.
Take a look at the replay as we see cuts it a little bit low, and he gets hip checked there. I believe that was by Braille. No, it was not by Braille. Excuse me. I'll have to see who that was that hip checked off the wall into Flores there. It was right behind. That was Zach Meredith that hip checked into Flores there. But obviously Flores' race effectively over. He's going a lap down now, just trying to get back to pit lane. And you see the damage done to the 99 car, going a lap down early as Henderson continues to lead ahead of Hunter Peach. Lilac Zier and Dean Clavitt, your top 4 at the moment. We stay caution free here in Darlington as Henderson enjoys his time in the sun. Right now we're looking here. Stages end at lap 60 and lap 120 for those that are interested here tonight. So stage 1, lap 60 is the timing in there. Pit lanes closes on lap 58. So you cannot pit in the last 2 laps of the stage. That's the protocol coming up here. So plenty of time for drivers to figure out what they've got in these machines. Henderson looking very comfy out front. Hunter Peach really unable to do anything about it at the moment. Half a second behind. Zier about a second off of the race leader. Clavitt trying to close in, trying to go for third here. Trying to get some momentum going there. Bailey Thompson has gotten into the top 10. The 27 car, 5.5 seconds adrift there, and leading the second group. If we can kind of phase backwards, just to kind of show you where Bailey Thompson is at right now. Thompson holding up this huge train. David Smil Jr. in it. Dustin Hall just got clear of this. It was imperative for him to get clear of Bailey Thompson, and he did. David Smil Jr., this has got Zach Meredith Jeremy Braille, Zach Apperson, Pacey Wygent's on his way forward, as is Bobby Blowers in the number 94. And also keep an eye on the number 3 of Caitlin Height, trying to make her way forward in that red and black Ferrari Chevrolet. That's going to be weird to say tonight. But and you're seeing the side-by-side nature here. Smeal and Meredith side-by-side through 2. That's close.
Yeah, you usually can't get clear through there that easily. Side-by-side does not usually work out. One more thing I want to highlight as we watch this battle, the 4 machine of Zachary Apperson, that car is locked into the owners playoff, so that is a bit of a side playoff here. 15 obviously with different winners and all that point. Obviously with the 4 getting piloted to victory at Sonoma by Rudy Valentine, that car is fighting for an owners championship, not as much a driver's championship. So Apperson still fighting for a championship in some regard here, but Meredith getting a little loose there off corner 2 there. We said it was going to be the tricky spot, and you saw a couple positions lost there. Meredith being a bit of a wrecking ball here. Obviously had that little incident with Flores, and now even drifting further and further back. Now currently sitting in P17 under pressure from the number 3 machine of Caitlin Height, which you usually don't see her this far back. So overall, she's going to have a big opportunity here to try to get forward on here. She just clips the wall a little bit as well. Got to be careful not to hit the wall too much, or else you could end up possibly getting penalties and possibly getting invalidation or even a disqualification, and in 2, it could damage the car if you hit it a little bit too hard at the right angle. One more thing to note as well, Elias Flores is now out of this race. That damage was terminal. He will take it behind the wall, now giving us 26 cars still on the racing surface. But up front, it's still the Blake Henderson show, but Hunter Peach is slowly reeling in that number 25 machine. Gap is about a 10th there, and in turn, he's bringing a Lilac Zier with him. So right now, it is Henderson, Peach, and Zier having a lot of success in Darlington. We saw in the A2 Cup Series, we saw in the Admin Box Cup Series. Zier really loves Darlington, and it's showing out right now as she is slowly catching up to this top 2 here.
Absolutely. Obviously, right now, we're looking at this battle for the top 3. But Peach is closed in. It was half a second. Now it's about 0.2 of a second. We were focusing on Zach Meredith, who before that had gained 8 spots from where he started. He enters this race with a singular top 10 finish going into tonight's race. As far as statistics go, one of the most abysmal of the playoff drivers. And you're seeing a little bit of a glimpse as to why. Just struggling early on and having to try to dig out of a hole. Obviously, not the worst situation for Meredith. Still sitting 18th at the moment. Make that 19th as it's been passed by Lily Pelletier Sharp. But as we see Hunter Peach make a move to the inside lane, wanting the race lead here at Darlington. Still side by side to 3 and 4. Meredith's got some work to do, as does Peach if he wants to try to take this lead away from Henderson. Zier stalking like a vulture in 3rd, waiting for one of these 2 to make a hiccup here and move forward. 3-car fight at the front of the field. Clavitt has been dispatched 1.5 seconds adrift of this fight. Zier struggling a little bit with the dirty air. 3rd car in line. Peach tries the outside lane as Henderson covers off the inside to 3 and 4. This track asymmetrical. Turns 1 and 2 tighter but more banked. Turns 3 and 4 a little bit wider but a little bit less banked. And we're seeing that in tow here.
We watch right now Peach try to answer back again. This raises a question. Obviously, the racer in you wants to fight, but considering the fact right now, a hit in the wall, like we saw Zier just clip the wall there out of 2, but there's a risk-reward situation. If you get in too much of a fight and you get too scrappy out here, A, you could fall back into the clutches of Clavitt, Arnold, and whatnot, but B, at the same point, if you end up totaling your car in an incident, you bleed more points than giving up 1 position here. Obviously, it is to a degree win and you're in as long as you attend all 3 races into a round, but there is that risk that sometimes maybe 2nd and 3rd, it separates by a point, and with it being such a big round, sometimes it's not really worth the hassle to maybe 100% defend the spot, but obviously you still don't want to roll over and die in certain situations.
Well, you look at this, kind of sort of interjecting on this here with Henderson and Peach. This is a calculated risk. These are all playoff drivers. The only playoff driver, the only non-playoff driver in the top 10 is Thompson. You're looking at your direct competitors, especially for Peach and Henderson, which are both sort of in that same gauntlet of being drivers expected to not make it into the Final 4. They're expected to sort of make it to the round of 8, and that's about it. this is a big chance to really sort of fight for that a little bit as Zier gets around Peach. As we expected there, as you mentioned, you're just fighting and losing a spot there. Peach struggling to get around the 25. It is a calculated risk because you know that you can make a chance. If as long as you keep it calculated, you keep it measured, as Henderson tags the wall, so does Zier. Everyone over driving turns 1 and 2 there. It is a bit more measured, the fight for the front of the field, because it is against playoff drivers. You're not throwing against someone who's not a playoff driver at all. You're fighting against drivers that are trying to knock you out of the playoffs as soon as possible. I believe pit stops are happening in the stage, so I don't see the longevity behind this fight, but every point counts. Obviously, when you're looking at this group, they're separated by, 1, 2, 3 points at most. That's a big deal. They have to move and get those points now, whereas you look at people like drivers like Josh Susie, drivers like Kalen Height, Pacey Wygent, they have a giant buffer. They have almost a full race buffer in points that they can lean on in this opening stanza here in Darlington. Zier doesn't. Henderson doesn't.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that point. I just think the only thing you got to be worrying about is you don't want to send a car to a junkyard just because you want to get one extra spot in certain situations.
Well, you also look at this group. Lilac Zier is not DNF'd a single race this season. Henderson's DNF'd once. Peach is DNF'd once.
Speaking of, we just all moved for the lead there.
Yeah,
Zier just got around Henderson.
Zier drove through turns 3 and 4 to get to that race lead. But we know how good Zier is here at Darlington. That's not a surprise there. It's just a matter of if Henderson's going to send it right back, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Peach has dropped back a little bit in this fight. Third car line is not a fun place to be here at really any track, but especially Darlington where the tires wear so heavily. But Zier obviously saving up her stuff at the right time to move forward here. We're almost halfway through stage number 1. Stage 1 ends again on lap 60 here. But Zier obviously making some headway here. No bonus points leading a lap. We should probably add. I know we've touched on this throughout the season. There's no bonus points outside of the stages. It's all the stage finishes and then your actual finishing position at the end of the race. There's no bonus points for pole position, leading a lap, leading the most laps, so on and so forth. So all of this doesn't get you anything extra. It's just where you want to be position-wise for your pit stop and to try to get yourself in the right spot for the end of the stage. Peach tags the wall again in 3 and 4, trying to get around Henderson, who looks like he may have burned his stuff up a little bit in the opening stanza here in stage 1.
One driver that's on a move right now, I would say, is Dustin Hall, up 8 spots, morning qualified. Joshua Sosi as well, even though he's kind of held that spot, he is moving, even though tempers are beginning to flare a little bit. He had a little bit of a run-in with Chad Swatsworth. They were trying to battle for position. Wadsworth saying that he was not left enough room. Sosi said, I gave you as much as I could, vice versa. So tempers can flare around here. And we know Sosi and Wygent, if they make it to Fontana, may be in a bit of a scrap as they've had some shady incidences throughout the past week. So tempers and rivalries can still hold up in these spots. So drivers have to be careful as we see Sosi slowly reeling into a Josh Arnold here, as Arnold's currently holding down 4th position. Right now, Clavett's fallen down to 7th, so Clavett has really struggled to keep his stuff at a competitive speed here. He's now down to 7th position as Sosi trying to pull a line. You can see Arnold trying to block, but Sosi just going to flex the muscle, show why he is a defending champion, trying to do what no other driver in the HTL Cup Series has done in the seasons we've seen and be a back-to-back champion. Currently sitting in P4 now as Arnold will fall to 5th as we watch on with Dustin Hall, who has the best seat in the house right now watching this battle, but he's got to try to replicate what Sosi did in trying to get around that number 2 machine.
And meanwhile, Alex here in front of the field has let go and set sail 1 second clear of Henderson here in the lead of the race. Zier trying to put a stamp on her playoff positioning here. Obviously, 4th place in the race season standings, went winless in the regular season, whereas it took last season a win at Daytona to get her into the playoffs. Zier looking to defy that immediately. Playoff Zier in form here in South Carolina, riding aboard with Dustin Hall, who's also showing a lot better form just out of the gate, a lot more energy from the 12 crew going into tonight's race. Same with Josh Arnold, the 2 car. Qualified well, qualified top 4, but just struggling with long run tire wear as this race goes along. Not helping him out at all. He's going to drop another spot from 4th where he started down to 6th. Clavett back to where he started in the 7th spot. He leads the second group that's got Chad Swatsworth, Eli Sasek, and David Smeal Jr. now in it. Smeal's gotten around Thompson for the top 10. Bailey Thompson 11th, Wygent 12th, then Connor Morris spun Bobby Blowers, and Caitlin Height also not far away from this group. Side by side further back, that is Sharp, Braille, Meredith, and Gaiman all in this stanza, and that's a cluster of cars to be in.
That is a gaggle, and that is a sketchy spot to be in, especially around Darlington, where it's basically a kind of a 1.5 groove racetrack, and you do not want to be in a spot where you're getting kind of swallowed up here when making moves happen here, as you see drivers going higher and lower, trying to make moves here. Looking a little bit down the board, up the board here, you can see right now it's basically Arm City here. As I'm watching a little bit up the road too, Wygent just got into the fender of the 9. I think Swatsworth's pitting right now. He is way low on the racetrack, so I think Swatsworth's going to be the first car in the pit lane here, as he is signifying it is time to pit, as he is now officially in. So the 18 machine, first playoff driver and first driver here tonight, making a pit stop here on lap 31. Assuming it'll be for 4 tires and fuel, but there is an opportunity to take 2 and maybe try to get a little extra track position at the risk of being maybe a bit slower in the longer run and having possibly take an element of strategy out if need be. Another car coming into the 71 of Louis Peltier Sharp, the 9 machine, Dean Clavitt. So pit laps have officially opened, but right now the highest driver to pit so far is P6 Dustin Hall, as he's coming this time by.
Yeah, I'd imagine pit stops are not going to be too far away here. Josh Susie got right up to the bumper of Peach and Henderson, and they're looking at the pit stop window thinking if this is their time to come down pit lane. Susie on the charge. We know how good he is at saving tires here at Darlington Raceway. As Susie goes for 3rd place on Peach, pit stops still underway. We'll see more pit stops throughout the next couple laps here. Clavitt in, Sasek in, Dustin Hall in. They have put themselves at the mercy of the rest of the field. If a caution comes out, they're pinned a lap down. You easily lose a lap. If you're more than 11 seconds back, you're 2 laps down here at Darlington under green flag pit stops, and it looks like Henderson's going to go ahead and bail on in to pit lane. That's exactly what he does, as does Lilac Zier. Josh Susie side by side with Peach. This will be for the race lead at a 4, as it's going to be Hunter Peach to lead the lap. New race leader Hunter Peach, but not for long. Josh Susie's going to get clear 3, 1, and 2. Stamp of authority for the defending champion. Susie now leads the way, but pit stops are ringing in the distance, and the undercut is so important. Peach will go down pit lane. He got his lap bled. Now it's time for fresh tires on the number 20. Susie stays out.
Susie obviously do not get a lap for leading, but Susie thinks the overcut is going to be the way that reaps the most benefits for him and his strategy right now. Peach in as well, just hit his pit lane as well. David Smeal will now be promoted up to 2nd. Bailey Thompson, Connor Morris, Pacey Wygent, your top 5. Right now, playoff drivers in the top 10, only Sosi, Wygent, Height, Gaiman, and Denny going the long strategy here, which is interesting. You're seeing maybe a half and half element here, but most of these cars were outside the top 10 on qualifying time. So using this opportunity, maybe if a caution were to come out or element of strategies to try to get their car further up, they give themselves a better chance in stage number 2 by taking the long way. But right now, Smeal doing a great job, but Thompson and Morris may have to be a little bit more aggressive here, as it feels like they're being just held a little bit up by that number 8 machine.
It feels like they've been holding each other up a lot here in this stanza. You look at David Smeal Jr., but it was the same way when Thompson was leading this group. Connor Morris had a brief couple laps at the front of this queue as well. It seems like they're just holding each other up. They're running so similar on the pace here. And they're on older tires too, so they're going to be a headache for those trying to get the laps back here. But 2 schools of thought, only 10 drivers staying out so far, from Susie to Frazier. Blowers in pit lane now. Dustin Hall, importantly, with the pit stop, has leapfrogged everybody. He is now ahead of Peach, Henderson, Clavitt, and Swatsworth. He leapfrogged everybody on his pit stop. He should realistically get to the front of the field, and the reason why, I believe Lilac Zier had a speeding penalty on her pit stop. So from the front of the field to 26th, and multiple laps down.
100% correct. She was leading this way, and now, yep, she got a speeding 54 seconds in her pit lane. 45 minus 15 will get you around that time. So she has officially got busted, and this is the mistakes you got to be careful to avoid around this circuit. Lily Frazier in right now. She will pit leading the top 9 if you have to make their final pit stops right now. And we'll see how it all plays out. Caitlin Height also in, but Sosi, Smeel, Morris all still going along, and we know the field run's about 40 laps. Stage ends at 50, so no drivers can make it. Actually, I think it was 60, so there's no way any driver can make it without at least making a pit stop here. The question is really coming to a point, obviously going long. The benefits are obviously you'll get fresher tires that you can use while this track eats up tires. That could be beneficial, and in turn having less fuel to take to get to the end of the stage, making your pit stop maybe a slightly bit slower, giving yourself that extra advantage. Caitlin Height, only car right now. We'll see if she takes probably 4 tires. I'd assume, as you know, filling it up is the same equivalent at 4 tires.
Interesting that Lily Frazier we talked about earlier only took 2. 9.7 second stop for Lily Frazier. Caitlin Height rolls in, takes 4 tires, 14.7 second stop there. That was the more standard procedure there. Frazier took 2, trying to save some track time. Susie stays out here to end lap 40. But interesting strategies. Now we're seeing more two-tire stop goers on the track now. Smeel and Wygant on the track now. They're going to follow each other in. See if we can follow along, as Smeel will be the first one to get to his box, I do believe. Wygant the 00 just behind. They're the next ones to come down pit lane. It's going to be very interesting to see what Wygant elects to do, especially as Wygant comes to his box. Actually, earlier he had one of the earlier boxes there. And we'll see what he gets out of this. Remember, 9.7 was the benchmark for the 2-tire stop. Wygant goes 4. How about David Smeel Jr.? Does he go 2 or 4? He's going to go 4 as well. Wygant up and rolling, and he's going to beat David Smeel Jr. out of pit lane. Maybe. Definitely got a better pit stop out of it, though. 14.6 there for Smeel. Wygant down the order, 14.5. But enough to make some inroads, and they're going to be racing on the exit.
Yeah,
Dotson
they will be
also
racing
now.
Yep, Dotson in as well, leaving now only the top 5 yet to make the pit stop. Now Denny in, so we can throw one more name on that list as well, making a pit stop. So overall, it is interesting to see Sosi obviously 9 laps, adding to that list. But right now, we'll have to see how this plays out. Seeing him going this long kind of shows and maybe puts in this driver's back of their knowledge that, hey, if I can save my tires, I can make it work. I can maybe go a little longer than I need to do to make it comfortably. So Sosi maybe showing the way here at least a little bit for some other drivers, maybe to copy his homework here to get a better advantage in stage number 2. But it's going to take a Herculean effort to make the tires work perfect, because we saw with Clavitt, we saw other drivers really struggling on their tires. It's going to have to see how it plays out. But Sosi can't go forever. He is in now, presumably giving the lead off to Connor Morse, who was a top 10 qualifier for his EOL. Looks like he, at the very least, with considering on the track right now, he's in that big gaggle here with Thompson and Gaiman. So it's going to be
gaggle of cars right here.
Yeah. Some trying to unlap themselves, so you can see the pressure here as Clavitt kind of boxing Bailey out here, saying, I need to get going here. I need to unlap myself just in case stuff happens.
Well, this is really big, too, because these drivers are going to be held up massively for those that have stayed out late. They've had to get through these drivers last, and these drivers still have not come in. Morris leads the lap and comes down pit lane. It leaves Bailey Thompson as the race leader. And now the floodgates are open because there's less cars out on track, but everyone still has to get around Bailey Thompson, who will lead a lap here. Clavitt lost a lot of time trying to catch up to Blake Henderson. Lost a significant number of time there. Lost 3 seconds. He was right there with Henderson, and now 3 seconds adrift. And having to use up his tires a lot more to get around the slower traffic. Thompson stays out even longer here. There's Sear. 2 laps down, make that just a lap down, it looks like. As Thompson comes down pit lane, so does Josh Gaiman.
Yep, Gaiman in box. Lena Thompson coming in now as well. And You were talking about element, and the thing is, it's kind of a negative feedback loop because you're stuck behind. You have to burn your tires up more to try to make a move, and if you end up getting in the fender or the corner panel of the driver in question, you may end up damaging your car, the other car, bring out a caution, which then really puts you even more behind the 8-ball. So it's overall a bad situation, and sometimes drivers plan their strategies out to try to avoid being encumbered by traffic. Gaiman coming out a little under a 15-second stop for him. He is now away with Thompson coming in. That moves the
down.
But now with Thompson coming in as well, already now basically in our box, she will presumably go a lap down as well for going out that long, and that is the dangers of staying out the longest as you lose time to the cars around you running basically on fresher tires and slightly lower fuel loads. But right now, back up front, it's Dustin Hall who will now lead 1 lap, so you see that 0 tick over to a 1. Hunter Peach 2.7 back, and then it's Henderson in 3rd. So Dustin Hall, the great case of where did he come from?
Yeah.
He was 6th when pit stops occurred, but through the element of hitting his box the earliest, doing the undercut, he was able to make great inroads. Swatzer would probably be up there with him if he didn't get held up behind that little train of Thompson and a few others.
Yeah, and this is a very needed race for Dustin Hall, for a lot of drivers. Obviously, Josh Arnold sitting top 10 as well. Meredith top 10 right now as well too. Very needed for Dustin Hall, who had done 15 races almost the entire regular season, missed just 1 race during the regular season. Didn't have results. There was just nothing there for Dustin Hall in that 12 machine. To come out of the gate swinging like this so far, obviously still early going. We're looking at 11 laps to go at the line in stage 1. This is a step in the right direction for Dustin Hall. And obviously, we know the stage break coming up for Hunter Peach. He knows that he's in the mix. Henderson knows that he's still in the mix as well. He's not out of step completely. Rome wasn't built in the day. So for some of these drivers, the turnaround is fantastic just to be in this conversation. Swats with 4th, Clapp top 5 as well. Really good run so far for a lot of the playoff drivers, just not if you're Josh Gaiman or Lilac Sear. You did not need to be a lap down at this stage, and that's not going to be convenient at all for either of them, because Gaiman right now is going to have the free pass position. If you look at where they're at right now, Josh Gaiman, there he is, the 33 car, in 25th position. Obviously, no lap sled for him. Lilac Sear, though, 11 lap sled, and in this train, not too much farther behind, and trying to get around Dean Clavitt. Clavitt tagged the wall. He'll lose spots big time from 5th down to 8th at least for Dean Clavitt. Make that behind Meredith, Sasek, and Arnold is where the main native will go. And he's not too far ahead of Josh Susi, who stayed out extra long from the front of the field to just inside the top 10 in 9th. And Bobby Blowers, the 94, sitting at top 10 at the moment. Just had a Caitlin Height. Importantly, caution free so far. We're going to get to the stage break pretty easily at this stanza. Dustin Hall continues to lead over Hunter Peach and Blake Henderson, and not really under significant threat. Peach is closing in the closing stanza of stage 1. Gap is down to 1 second exactly. Remember, Dustin Hall had the earlier pit stop between the two, came down pit lane on lap 31. Peach came down pit lane 3 laps later on lap 34, and driving his way closer to the front of the field, but passing, as we saw, very different, very difficult, and something that Peach struggled with when he was battling with Henderson and Zier. Now battling with Dustin Hall, who's going to be even more difficult, I think, to deal with than Henderson or Zier. Dustin Hall, a 7-time HTL Cup Series race winner. Peach, 2 race wins in the Cup Series to his name here in HTL. Slugging it out here, and he closed in quickly, though. Got right into the slipstream, the draft of that 12 car. We could have a dogfight for the stage win with 6 laps to go. Henderson further behind in 3rd, but safely in 3rd. It should be said, he's 4.6 seconds ahead of Chad Swatsworth. So he's going to be able to ride comfortably with those 8 stage points here in stage 1, which is going to be a big boost for him. Dustin Hall, mirrors full of the 20 of Hunter Peach. This is going to be a lot of fun riding on board with the 20. He's got a really good run. Had to check up a little bit. Knows he doesn't want to try to make a pass here. He's wanting to make a pass to 3 and 4, and he's in the wall. Tags the wall there briefly, but riding on board of the 20. Down the back straightaway, the Boeing super straightaway. Outside lane, Dustin prefers the middle lane. Straddling the seam, Peach outside, gets pinched off there.
And this is where the fresh tires play out, with Peach going longer on the strategy by 3 laps. He doesn't have to really worry as much here to burn up his stuff, but there is a possible looming caution. If the caution were to come out, stage would end, and Hall would get 10 points, Peach would get 9 points. So Peach has to kind of lay back a little, knowing he's got the fresher stuff, but at the same time, you do not want to wait until maybe the last corner to make something happen, just in case chaos happens. Looking at some real-world examples like Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato back in 2020, where a move like that was a little too late to make something happen. Officially to go with 3 laps to go in the stage. Pit lane will close next time by. So if any drivers had to come down for service, now would be the time. But if you're coming down, you're at least going to go at least 1 down. So there's that risk and reward situation. Speaking of, Apperson almost got into someone as well further back. Could have been a caution, but we're staying on the battle right now for the lead. Hunter Peach going to go low side. Does he how aggressively try to clear Hall? Hall still got some room, but just cannot get the grip on the tires. New leader, the 20 of Hunter Peach, and he has about 2 laps to try to set sail to get away from that number 12.
Yeah, drove it right to the inside in 3 and 4. He knew that's where he wanted to make his pass, and you could hear him check up. There's right on board with him. That he didn't want to try to make that pass in 1 and 2, that it checked him up so much that he just wanted to make sure it happened in 3 and 4, and really just outdrove Dustin Hall there. Those 3-lap fresh tires mean the world here at Darlington Raceway, and you're seeing that in full effect. White flag in stage number 1, and it belongs to Hunter Peach right now, who's gotten around the 7-time race winner, Dustin Hall, trying to grab a stage win here at Darlington. Josh Gaiman, he has raced his way close to the front, trying to get his lap back the hard way. It will not happen. He's going to be stuck behind Dustin Hall, but it will be on Hunter Peach, who will take the stage win. Remember that the stage flag comes out once 10th place Bobby Blowers crosses start-finish line. So that's where Blowers is right now, and that is a large gap to try to overcome. So everyone's still got a chance. Blowers will come out, and there goes the yellow to end the stage. Blowers gets the last stage point, but it's Hunter Peach with the stage win in stage 1. 60 laps in the books, and it is the 20 car of Hunter Peach on top of the board early on here in Darlington Raceway. All playoff drivers in the top 5.
All playoff drivers in the top 5. All playoff drivers in the top 9. As the only driver that was not a playoff driver is Bobby Blowers. So 9 out of the 16 playoff drivers will get stage points here. Hunter Peach is getting the biggest haul of them all with the juicy 10. But now, pit lane being open this time by, I'd assume it's going to be a crowded place to be. But it raises the question. Gaiman obviously going to get the lucky dog, presumably, but he is going to go around now. Lilac's here, the unlucky one. She's kind of in a rock and a hard place situation. She will get the wave around, but the problem is Gaiman will be able to come in and pit as soon as it cycles around. As for Zier, though, she's going to be in a spot where she has to hope for a quick caution or hope for something to occur in order to get that lap back. But at the very least, if she can get back in the lead lap before this race gets to its final stage, or even before this race concludes, she could be a reckoning force to be competitive to win this race. We'll keep an eye on the long camera here where the line is. Call cars coming in. It's most likely going to be 4 tires and fuel for the lot, but we may see one car maybe roll the dice, try something different that may be buried in traffic. Doubtful, but I've seen stranger things happen at stranger track combinations. So right now, keeping an eye on the line. Most drivers in their boxes. Times going over 7 seconds, well over plus. Now drivers driving away. Who will be the first one to win the race off the pit lane? Looks like it's going to be Dustin Hall. Unless Peach can speed on out, it's going to be close. But it's going to be the 12 of Dustin Hall taking it as he almost contacted the 20 as they were dueling it out to get out of entry. Then it'll be Swatsworth, Henderson, Height, Arnold, Meredith, Swat, Sasek, Blowers. So top 10 pretty much stays the same. Looks like Clavitt and a few others lost a position or 2. But overall, big race. Hall's crew gets it done and gets him back to lead. So overall, he will now be the lead car to start of stage number 2.
Yeah, he got that position back pretty easily there. Obviously a good run there for Dustin Hall, which he needed to have a good pit stop to really kind of make happen. A really good run overall, finishing second in the stage after starting a little bit lower down the order. We'll actually see if we can cover where everyone was started this race from. And you see Dustin Hall started this race in 14th place. That is a really good effort from the 12 team. Hunter Beach obviously back where he started. Swats with a good gain as well in pit lane up to third. Caitlin Height though in range. She is a threat here at Darlington Race with that 3 car. Keep an eye on that Ferrari Chevrolet sitting right now in the top 5. She'll be in the inside of row number 3 on this restart. But so far, really good running from most of the playoff drivers. Just not if you're someone like Lilac Z, who had a speeding penalty on green flag pit stops first time around. Outside, only car lap down at the moment.
Yeah, that could be at least good. If we get a quick caution, she's no long, she's not in it, she will get the lucky dog and be back on the lead lap. So there is that benefit at the very least. But the problem is, if a caution comes out at an impromptu time during green flag pit stops, considering that we know the longest the driver went was about 45, give or take 47 laps, knowing that the stage ends on 120, that's give or take at least over 50. So if we see a green stage 2, it is going to be green flag pit stops. And if a caution comes impromptu, that could be the nail that hurts Zier here at Darlington. We should get one to go this time by as the sun is slowly setting. These cars will be racing under darkness before this race officially concludes. See Zier now getting the wave around. It's going to be Hall and Peach row number 1, Swatsworth Henderson row 2, Height Arnold row 3, Meredith Sasek row 4, Blowers Sharp. Your first 5 rows, 9 out of 10 playoff drivers. Only one not is Bobby Blowers. Moving further down the grid, you can see more playoff drivers making up the top 20s, but considering the lowest 2 playoff drivers right now, lowest 3 are Braille, Gaiman, and Zier. Both Braille in 21st, Gaiman in 25th, and Zier in 26th. Even Josh Sosi buried in 20th. They're going to have a lot of work to do to try to carve out through this field.
A lot of work for the field still left to go. A lot of racing left. We're only 65 laps in to 228 laps here in Darlington, the Southern 500 here in HTL in full swing. It is Dustin Hall who chose the outside lane on this restart alongside Hunter Peach. Then it's Swatsworth, Henderson, Katie Height, and Josh Arnold, your top 6. As they roll through the restart zone, showtime for stage 2 begins, and we're back underway here in Darlington. 26 cars still running. Only retirement, Elias Flores, who wrecked out early at the behest of Zach Meredith. Everyone else still in full swing.
Here on radio comms right now, Clavitt got a 4X from someone. Obviously, car is still pointing in the right direction, but iRacing can be a bit fickle with its call sometimes. So obviously a 4X, not what that 90 machine wants, considering there is actually not a DQ limit here tonight according to the line. So overall, you can get as many as you so please, but obviously you do not want to get as many as you so please, because stewards could be watching closely if repeat incidents happen or if you are the cause of said incidents. But back up, it's the Hall Peak Show House stage number 1. Henderson there in 3rd and Swatsworth 4th.
Sorry to cut you off there. The cutoff is 17. So the 17 incident points is a disqualification. It was
Correct.
24.
Correct, but in the info box on the iRacing, so it won't be an automatic disqualification. Then the stewards will have to give it out as soon as you hit it. So fair enough. So it won't be automatic by iRacing standards, but there will be disqualification at 17. So thank you for the correction, Carmen. Sometimes it's there in the info box, other times it is not. But up front, it is Hall Peach, still 1-2. Peach, though, obviously seems to have a better short-run car. The problem is he's got to make sure he can keep that Sour Pouch Kid's tires on the right side, as he seems like he struggles a little bit with long-run pace. Meanwhile, Dustin Hall seems to be aging like a fine wine. He really finds the length in those tires and really gets it further on the run. So keep an eye on Hall and maybe Height in later on this run to really get those tires and bring them to the best of their life.
Dustin Hall really trying to defend from Pete. I think we're talking about the same thing, with obviously everyone trying to just shifting lanes here at the front of the field. heats, trying to find a way around Dustin Hall, doing a lot of mirror driving here. But they've both, once again, left the rest of the field. They've got to open up a pretty wide gap to Henderson and the rest of the group. There's Swansworth in fourth, Katie Height in a distant fifth. It is 2 cars in front of the field and everyone else playing pursuit.
Playing pursuit indeed. And this is where, again, if you're a little bit further back right now and maybe third or fourth, this may not be a bad element. Like if you're Henderson, you got not a lot of traffic behind, not a lot of traffic ahead. Your best strategy may be just to save some tire here. Don't try to chase the Piper. Don't try to chase the driver ahead here. Let them burn up their stuff. Let them fight it out, and then you can kind of reap up the benefits when the run goes longer. But obviously, for some drivers, tire saving becomes a lot easier than others. So overall, we'll have to see if he can get that life even with the best of saving. But at least with the sun setting, it can make it a little bit easier to get those tires a little extra saved out here. Top 10, pretty much the same as we saw it on the restart here. Overall, it's pretty much single file, no major notes to report. Some trains a little bit further back with 3-4 cars in a pocket. But one thing you can see, Sassek's got a big train behind him right now as the time is beginning to fall a little bit ham over fist here. As you can see on the long shot here, there we go. It's a bit racy as Sharp, Apperson, and Wygen having a bit of a battle there just inside the top 10.
Everyone's still very close together here. Everyone had a chance to learn in stage 1 what they had and what they needed to adjust on for this stage. The stage tended to be a little bit shorter, but the amount of time they were actually racing here, stage ends at lap 120. They went green on lap 66. So about 55 laps compared to 60, so it's a little bit shorter. Adjust the game plan a little bit as far as when you make that pit stop and how you really prepare for this final stage. It's going to be so long, but everyone really close together. 27 cars started, 26 still going. Lilac's here as it sits, the only driver off the lead lap at the moment. We'll pull back the intervals here.
Actually, she's on the lead lap, but the problem is she's off sequence with the rest of the pack.
She's got to make an early pit stop, yeah.
Yeah, she came in at 33. Rest of the pack came in at 62.
Oh, she got the wave around. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep, but obviously she will go down a lap maybe within the next 10, 15 laps here when she'll have to make her mandatory, not mandatory pit stop, but somewhat mandatory to get fuel and tires. And then that will put her back 1 down. But again, being the only car that's in the risk going 1 down at the moment, she could be in a good chance to get back in this thing. So she just got to keep her head down, not make any major mistakes, don't speed again, and you can maybe get back in this thing to compete. Because we know she was running blistering lap times. Right now on the board, she has one of the fastest times of the drivers. So she just needs to make sure just to get that behind her and make up for lost time here. But right now you can see, though, Sasek really losing time to that top 5. It's now about 2 seconds between Height and Sasek, and it's continuing to fall, but no driver can really get that run necessary. Wygen's kind of trying to carve over the field right now, dispose of Sharp, now trying to make a move on Meredith, but right now, no driver in this pack we're watching seems to have the gusto to get to that next group of cars.
Outstanding running so far. Again, we've not had a caution for an incident in this race, which is a great thing to sort of talk about, especially with how close this field is at the moment right now. And you see from Sasek all the way down, you have to look all the way down. Largely, you're looking down almost like Josh Susi almost, in terms of just how close everyone is at the moment. But everyone frustrated behind Sasek. That is Arnold trying to find a way around. See if we can run on board with somebody in this group here. There we go, run on board with Zach Meredith. And you just see how much slower they're running now, 3 mile an hour slower in the traffic. Arnold looks to the inside. Meredith, his teammate, just behind him. Gonna follow him. Arnold gets clear and tags the wall. And now Meredith's going to try to go 2 for 1. That's fun to walk on board with. But they're still side by side.
Yeah, still can't fully get clear here. He'll get 1 car, though, get ahead of Sasek. Wygen was trying to follow suit as well. Will still be side by side off exit. But this is where Sharp will decide where she wants to go. She will help that number 00 for at least for a second. 00 still going to hang on like a bit of a bad rash here. They'll be side by side into the corner. Wygen trying to keep the throttle in the corner, but just can't get it done. He'll have to fall back a spot here. So Wygen can't even capitalize on the door that Meredith opened, but Meredith going to keep 7th position for now, trying to get the 6th here.
Yeah, teammates fighting here in the early going. Every point matters right now, especially for these two who are entering this race in the bottom 8. Remember that it's the round of 16, then it goes to the round of 8. There is no round of 12. So you're either in the top 8 or you're not at the end of race 3, which I believe is in Kentucky.
Yes. Oh, caution is out. Caution is out.
It
is for Gaiman and Fraser.
Yep. Josh Gaiman up and around in the back of the field, and this bails out Zier, who had just come down pit lane. Actually, this may not help Zier at all, who is still on pit lane.
Even if she's 1 down, she will get the lucky dog, though, by default. So even though if she is 1 down, she'll get back on lead lap. So it is helpful that she won't have to lose more time or risk an opportunity of going an extra lap down here. So we'll take a look here at what happened to Gaiman in the number 33 and Lily Fraser in the 57 Kit Kat machine. See as well, Fraser up on the high side, trying to, getting around Mongold here.
Oh, just 3 wide there. That's not smart. That's Fraser just trying to make a hole that just isn't really on play there, unfortunately. I see Louis Fraser already wrong ways round there, and we'll see if we can get an onboard shot here of Fraser trying to get around Josh Susie there as well. And you already have a car to the inside, just trying to make 3 wide work. Just an over-ambitious move, and we've seen that from the 57 car and all of its drivers a lot this season. It just never going to work, and no contact with Susie at all. It just, Fraser just not able to keep it steady on that middle lane. Bounces in front of Gaiman. And around it goes. Not a lot of contact overall, but I'm concerned about that rear suspension there for Josh Gaiman if it is damaged, because that is not an easy thing to replace.
No, it is not. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see as he comes in here if he's going to have a long clock for repair. Obviously, Fraser with the clock as well. All cars did come in, by the way, while you're watching this. I think except maybe, nope, Flowers did along with Mongol. They both will take a fuel only on their stop. Everyone else will take 4 tires. Braille also did fuel only as well, but not gain as many spots as he probably would have liked. Lilacs here obviously going to get the lucky dog here, or at the very least the wave around, depending how she fancies. So this is actually going to help her out quite nicely. She will now officially be back on the lead lap, so she'll have about half a stage and another final stage to try to make up as much time as she can. Also, looks like Mongol is coming in this time by, so Mongol will give up second spot, so that means Flowers will be the only car that elects to stay out on the fuel-only call here.
Yeah, very interesting. Going out with the fuel-only call at this stand. Obviously, track position, very important, but we saw how much just 3 laps on tires meant to the rest of the field. This will be a very interesting restart here, and Blauer's latency going to be a factor once again on this restart for the 94. Zier will get the wave around, and this is really kind of what bails Zier out here. Pit right before that caution hit, and now we'll be relatively on cycle with everyone here, on sequence for this restart. We'll wave around here. We'll end up starting at the back of the field. But overall, not a bad position to be in. Austin Mongold in pit lane for an extended period of time. Could be under threat of going a lap down here, which is not ideal. You see the pace car in the background. Really good shot there of what's looming for Austin Mongold. He needs to get going in a hurry if he's trying not to go a lap down. And there he goes. He is rolling. Jeremy Braille will top off as well. Looks like a couple other cars will. DeMonte Dotson also coming in, the 31 car. So a couple of drivers having the same thought process. Top off of fuel, because this should get you pretty safely in the window. Less than 40 to go. You should be good to go from here. I know that's what Bobby Blowers is thinking, but he doesn't have the tires that everyone else does. And Mongold just barely beat out the pace car to stay on lead lap there. Very close for Austin Mongold. I wonder if he had damage from tagging the wall.
Possibly, but it's weird.
It didn't look like it, yeah.
Yeah. Consider the fact also he didn't like to stay in his box longer than 6 seconds, so he would have stalled the damage repair in his little notification box there. So it must have been minor, not been enough to really report on. So just coming in again here, maybe had some optionals that I'll just take it now. Who knows? But regardless, we do know is Blowers will be leading us to the flag with Hall flanking on the inside. It'll be Henderson, Peach, Swansworth, Height, Arnold, Meredith, Wygen, Sharp. Your top 10. Again, only car that is not a playoff driver in the top 10 is now our lead car of Bobby Blowers, who was P10. Last time we fired off about 30 laps ago. Pace car going to take the lonesome trip down pit lane. It's going to be on Bobby Blowers control in the restart zone. Green flag is out, and away we go. Hall, Henderson trying to give a shove there to Blowers to get him going, and then a little latency, but Blowers will stay in the foot and just clear Hall aggressively there. I don't think Hall's going to be too thrilled, and not a playoff driver, just cleared that quickly. Oh, spinning in the back, Clevitt, someone around. Don't know who that is. Swansworth was involved. Henderson heavily torn up, and I think Swansworth also had a piece well.
And that is gut-wrenching for Blake Henderson, who had such a good run going in this race. That car completely destroyed on the front end. Was running top 5 all race long. Speeding up here. I wonder if he's trying to catch up to somebody, if he's just going to stay in the queue.
And that's the damage we saw Flores get to with the front clip torn off.
And that was enough to end it.
Obviously, the car looks not at least with toe like broken, but we don't know how extensive that damage is. We'll obviously take a look at the replay, keep an eye on when he hits his box, seeing what happens. Obviously, the car's got heavy damage. Here is the replay right now. We'll keep an eye on that number 25. This is the restart coming to the line. Henderson gives a shove to Blowers here to get him going. Then Blowers blinks for a second. Blowers comes back. And I think he closed in on Henderson, maybe some loss on his own. 9 that 20 on the inside line. Oh, no.
He just loses on his own. He gets off the nose there of Height, but he's already lost it at that point. And that's multiple cars involved, multiple noses torn off there. Swansworth, I know, is one of them.
There was another white car there that clipped too. The second one, I don't know which one it was.
That looked like that could have been either Hall or Arnold. I think that might have been Hall.
Going back to check now, my own record here.
It is not Dustin Hall. Hall was in front of it.
17 of Meredith.
It was
Meredith. It was Meredith. So 3 playoffs are involved in that. Danny had a good avoidance of rack. He avoided it well. But other than that, though, 3 playoff drivers just collected like loose dominoes. And now they have damage. The question is, how severe will ride on with or that Meredith?
Yeah, this is going to be gut-wrenching.
Going right now outside line, a little stat just a bit, and then you're going to see Henderson just get no contact, get a little loose right there, clips Height, and this one's track being 1 point live as long. Probably minor damage from Meredith.
Like a ton of damage there for Meredith. Like it looks, obviously the front, losing the front clip's going to be rough, but the suspension should be fine, which is my biggest concern, obviously, with Henderson and with Swansworth on that. Obviously, let's go on board with Swansworth here.
Well, good news is Meredith's leaving his box with a new front clip. He
looks pretty good.
Swansworth will also beat the count. Henderson lead well. So all 3 cars will continue and stay in lap. Right here with Swansworth. And you'll see Henderson get loose. He clipped the corner pack of Peach, and then got hit by Height. Maybe a bit of net toe too. Overall, just odd situation around.
Definitely not what you want to experience, though, if you're someone like Swansworth. See if we can get one more look, this time from Katie Height's perspective, because she was right there front and center on it. This is again from the restart.
There they go. Keep getting a high car on the outside line, 25 machine. But it's light net maybe contact, and then that just gets the car loose. And at that point, it just Henderson had nowhere to go. And if he was a little bit more clear, it would have been a spin, but it was just having me right there, and yeah, just spin him around on her front end. You can see right there, though, Meredith's car looked still pristine. Henderson's that thing. It looks like it's driving good. That is not a pretty machine right now with that whole front torn off.
It's driving, but it's not driving good.
No.
And that's gut-wrenching for Henderson, who again had all three of them, Swansworth, Meredith, and Henderson, all had a fantastic race going. Cold tires on that restart, though, I would say a contributing factor to that more than anything else. And now it's going to be a very long 30 laps, the end of the stage that we're coming up to. If you're someone like Henderson, if you're someone like Swansworth here, who is back down pit lane for more work, and it's a very quiet pit lane, a very desolate pit lane for the 18 car. It's saved by Blowers, though.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have to deal with Swarm once again on this restart. The Hornet's Nest is alive and well here in Darlington. It's Blowers, Hall, Peach, Height, Arnold, and Wygent, your top 6, as they roll around turn 4. Crowd on its feet. Green flag in the air, and away we go. Swansworth officially a lap down. But the field in motion. Stage 2, the frantic stage. 2 cautions for incidents already after a clean stage 1. And more trouble. That is the 55 in the wall. 55, Caleb Carter, and it looked like that was a 27 to Thompson. It was.
Yes. No caution called, though. Obviously, Carter is got front clip torn off as well. So the stage that front clips and eating him for breath. I do wonder.
You're seeing as Blowers falls down a little bit here. I think what you were mentioning here, and we'll kind of read into it a little bit, the track is getting colder. And we're seeing a lot more issues on corner exit as the grip goes away. I think that's I think it might be a method to Blowers' badness. The older tires on Blowers' car, the 94 car, it's not great long run wise, but they're easier to heat up.
Yeah. And in turn, looking back, I look back at my own perspective here, both cars just lost their own power going out of 2. It just, cold tires caught them out, and they both got a little contact, and then they both spun. So overall, that puts the 55 with heavy damage. Tom's able to continue, but right now, Hall is set in sail and pulling away the purple one and best lap of the race. So again, those fresh tires work and give you perfect laps, but maybe in the short run, if you get a late check record, it may be beneficial to maybe stay out on tires if you get maybe a 2-lap shootout, because it may take a lap and a half for those old tires to really find for today.
Casey Wygent, next car up to get around the 94 Blowers. As the top 2 have really kind of waltzed away here, it's Hall and Peach. Once again, never-ending story here in Darlington between Hall and Peach, 2 drivers with a lot to show for here in South Carolina. Hall once again front of the field. He's had a chance to lead more laps. He's led 35 of them in this race so far. He's led a third of this race, thereabouts, over Hunter Peach. Hunter Peach has led 6 laps, only 6, but he won the stage of those 6 laps in stage 1. Wygent's around Blowers. Wygent has been lap leader a lot of times this season, just not yet tonight. He is now in a really good spot, P3, ahead of Blowers. Blowers able to lead 8 laps, has led more laps than Hunter Peach tonight, which is funny to think about there. And Caitlin Height in the top 5 at the moment, has not been to the front of the field just yet. The night is still young for the 3 car. And whoa! Flowers tried to drive down on Height. Height was not having any of it.
Try her way in. Obviously, again, feeling a bit of desperation, knowing got speed, knowing old tires there for the 94. Just trying to maybe just get. We know she's a patient driver sometimes, that she will go and be aggressive when she needs to be aggressive. You just saw it a little bit right there. Just trying to get her way forward.
As much as she can be calculated and calm and precise, she is 100% smash mouth when it comes to racing, when it comes to dealing with slower traffic. And we're seeing that in full effect right now, just trying to find a way around and not afraid of moving Blowers either. In stage 2 of all things, trying to tell Blowers, get out of the way. You cost me a chance to really stay in touch with Wygent. Blowers and Wygent, obviously close friends outside of HTL. Caitlin Height, obviously no love lost here with the 94 Blowers. trying to find a quick way around the non-playoff driver.
We'll see what she can do here. She's running middle groove again, but again, with it being a very non-passing track, there's only so much you can do. You just got to set up a run and try to make something happen. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Set up an exit, get a good run in the exit, and then kind of force the move here. She may go very aggressive here, just drive it in deep and say, hey, you're going to have to hold it. Luckily, she doesn't go as in deep as you can see. Blowers blinks a bit. Height will get the move done. So now Height, damage is already done, though. She's lost a second to Wygen. Yeah. So that's going to be a second she's going to have to carve in. But now Arnold, Sasek, Apperson, Smeal, and Sosi all going to have to do the same thing. And Sosi, a name we haven't said much in stage number 2 here, as he's now just got him finally back inside the top 10. So Sosi really not showing what he showed in stage number 1.
Dustin Hall still leading the way over Hunter Peach from the field, not missing anything there. It's about 7/10 the gap between those two cars. It is all in this group, just behind Caitlin Height from Bobby Blowers on down. 2 cars on pit lane. Caleb Carter and Shad Swadsworth with damage and significant amounts of damage. Blake Henderson, to his credit, is now not too far out. He's in the top 20, all things considered. So he's driven around Mongold, Thompson, Braille, and Odie with a car that's about 2 fenders away from being a modified. And that car might be driving better than we thought it did, because he is right now just behind DeMonte Dotson.
And his times aren't horrible. I mean, he just ran a 29.96 in comparison to Dotson had a 30.08 and our leader running a 29.9.
Yeah,
so
he's on leader's pace.
Yeah, so that thing, even though it doesn't look like it's going to win any beauty pageants, at the very least, it is still, nothing's broken. Nothing's overly destroyed.
That's and that's what you need if you're Henderson. You need something salvageable. And that's where he's at right now. And obviously a lot of race left still in stage 2 here. Stage 2 ends at lap 120. He can salvage this. This is very much a still in-play race for Henderson as Dotson tags the wall there, the American Airlines 31. In the wall for a moment.
Was also watching his onboard there from my own respect to the cockpit. Wheels didn't look bent, so yeah, suspension's fine. It just got a destroyed front clip, but luckily at short tracks you don't really need as much of that downforce as you think. So he should be okay, but obviously when the next caution comes out, whether it be the stage break or something else, he'll come down and try to get that thing even more fixed. But don't count Henderson out yet. As long as other drivers start making mistakes and keep capitalizing, he could make a move upward. Speaking of drivers capitalizing after making mistakes, Lilacs here really sitting in 14th position after being a lap down for a good majority of the second and the end of the first stage. Making a good recovery right now, trying to get inside the top 10. As we see right now, we're focusing on Josh Arnold, currently sitting in P5 with Eli Sasek hounding back. Both of them have found their way around Bobby Blowers. But you can see right now, Blowers still got a big old pack of train behind him, as now that gap between him and the leader on fresh tires is now 6 seconds.
A good run so far for Josh Arnold, back in the top 5. He started this race in 4th, so he started well and he stayed well. Biggest mover right now is Pacey Wygen, up 17 spots though. As Blowers once again, the floodgate on those older tires, just trying to hold on. It's hard to imagine as the laps tick away here, 15 to go in the stage, that he's going to get those stage points that he was out there fighting for. Also shout out to Zach Apperson, the 4 car. Looking pretty good right now.
Fighting for an owner's championship as well, so doing good in the owner standings. Try to make it through. Be the only car in the owner standings that is still qualified, as none of the other machinery was able to get in either with their wins or anything else, just because not making enough races or not being in the top 30. So Apperson, the only non-playoff driver in the owner standings. And we'll see what he can do there, as he's doing a good drive in that blue and white number 4. But Gaiman trying to take away his top 10 here, as he is on the low side here, looking to clear, and he should get the job done. Question is, he can't really slide up because there's Blowers right there. You can also see just up the road, Smeal and Sosi having a little bit of battle for it. Gaiman way off the road into the wall, inside the retaining wall. He's not caught anyone else. No, still no caution yet.
Oh, never mind, because it's still off. It's still on the apron technically.
Yeah, so they will no caution. iRace will not throw one. The stewards will not throw one. Gaiman has said it's done. He's out of the cockpit. It is day done for the number 33. And the driver that was ranked P4 in the power rankings is going to have a big hole to climb himself out of the next 2 weeks. He almost may be in a must-win, depending on how this rest of this race shakes out. But that's at least a bit of a sigh of relief for some other drivers like Braille, like Henderson, like Danny, who have had a bit of poor runs today. This could be something that gives them at least a lifeline to hang on to try to get back up. Meanwhile, Lilac Sear is now in the top 10. Just want to point that out after being, again, lapped down to start this stage.
And now in ninth place, got around. Blauer's there. Meredith's going to try to do the exact same thing there, and does easily. Blauer's falling down even faster. Now that the floodgates are open. Very interesting.
Looking in the chat right now, what caused that crash? It was a graphics driver's crash, and it's audio issues being choppy. So something with this graphics driver crashing caused that incident there. So not even a kind of a mistake wreck. That was just a overall iRacing computer problem there that caused that issue. So overall, back up front, it's still the Hall show. The gap has basically been the same for the top two there. Hall and Peach have been holding up. Peach is slowly reeling in that 12 machine. Gap about 3 tenths. It's been fluctuating between 3 and 7. We're focusing also on Lilac Sear here, who's caught the back of David Smeal, who's having a good run. That number 8 machine, usually piloted by Callie, but obviously Callie having some sim rig issues. She's not in that car as the moment. Smeal's been doing a good job, but no one can really stop Lilac Sear. She will get around now up to 8th position, setting her sights on P7 of Joshua Sosi.
Yeah, right now a really good run for the 50 car. Hunter Peach had a little bit of latency. Oh, that's not just a little bit of latency. Hunter Peach was gone for half a lap. Came back there, but that was dangerous for Hunter Peach.
Yeah, when you watch these broadcasts, you don't know it, but when you see a driver kind of click out for a second, you kind of have a stopwatch on your clock, and if you see it longer for maybe half a lap, then you start to worry they may be gone. So overall, Peach luckily gets it back in, and that car, he does not want that to keep happening here. Only a few blinks per week, so it's not as bad as some other drivers, but overall, that is always sketchy when you're alone on a track, wondering if your connection will come back. But he's got it up to 2 tenths here. He's knocking on the door Dustin Hall. Stage will end in about 7 laps here, so we're not that far away from seeing the end of stage 2. Hall trying to basically go lap to lap here in stage 2, but overall right now, it just has to hang on to a hungry Hunter Peach behind.
Very similar to how stage 1 ended last go around. It is this way again. It is Hall leading Peach with coming to 6 laps to go. And this is where Peach made his move in turns 3 and 4 last go around with 6 laps to go. Deja vu once again for the 20 car. Trying to sweep the stages here in Darlington for the HTL Southern 500. Down the back straightaway. Not close enough this time to drive around. Dustin Hall aware of what Peach did last time. 5 to go at the line. And a good run.
Considering Hunter Peach was considered a driver that not many people maybe had marked. Someone that may have been, hey, he'll make the top 8, but could easily also be a driver that finds his way out. He is driving like a driver that could be fighting for a championship in Fontana in about 8 weeks' time, as he is putting the wheel on that thing and really putting the hammer down here, as he's right now still hounding the back of Dustin Hall here. Next close, obviously, is Pacey Wygant, who's about 2.7 back. So unless contact comes here, it is going to be these two fighting it out for the end of the stage. Looks like also some contact happened a little bit further back with Braille and a few others, but they all gotten it straightened out. They'll continue on here. So right now, Hall, Peach, Wygant, Sosi, Height, your top 5, but 5, 6, 7 kind of close on track. We may see some of that jostle, but we're going to stay on this lead till the end.
Yeah, very close battle here for the stage lead between two drivers that could be battling for the stage win at the end of this race. 3 laps to go in the stage at the line. Peach fades to the inside. Doesn't like making passes in 1 and 2, but may not have a choice. Drives it in deep. And Hall over-unders him big time. Peach tried it. Hall was ready for it. Peach outside lane has the momentum to go down to 3 and 4. Peach passed him on the opposite side of the racetrack this time. Hall tagged the wall that time around in 3 and 4. They are putting the wheel to work with 2 to go at the line for the stage. For stage 2, Hunter Peach saying deja vu to Dustin Hall, passing for what could be the stage win with less than 3 miles left in play in stage 2. And Dustin Hall, once again, too far back to make much inroads here. Is this a story at the end of the race as well?
I'm Dustin Hall right now. I'm taking some notes here, knowing that you know what you got to do. You've seen it. If it comes down between the two of you again, you got to make a note how to hang on to it and keep the battle going. But final lap of the stage right now, Peach got a 10th lead. Zier just got her way up to 5th. As you see the flip on the board there. And it is race on indeed. But right now, Peach, Hall, 1-2. Hall drifting a little bit further back. Can't be in the run right now. And right now, Height furious on the radio. We'll talk about that in a second as we see that race play on. But as they come off of 4 right now, the 20 Hunter Peach will take the stage victory. Will sweep the stages. Dustin Hall 2nd. Sosi will come home in 3rd. Wygett 4th. Zier 5th. Height, Arnold, Sasek, Meredith, Sharp, your top 10. But similar to stage 1, tempers are beginning to flare here with some of these drivers.
You said Caitlin Height's tempers beginning to flare there. What happened there with the 3-car of Caitlin Height? Because it seemed like a pretty calm end of the stage.
Yeah, she said something on the radio per se. She said, you do that again and something will happen. I think she may have got tapped or something occurred. I'm not 100%, but overall, there was a little bit of temper there between the two of them.
Here with this battle with, oh, this could be
that may explain
exactly
something.
what happened. Oh, ho, ho.
Mm-hmm. Because she, again, on radio said, you do this again, you will not see the end of this race.
Oh, just drove right through Caitlin Height. Oh, wow.
And as you're driving aggressive here, knowing because she has a top car, but needs, after making up that speeding penalty here.
And no love lost between these two either.
Mm-hmm.
They are not friends by any degree. Wow.
Yeah, even then, something we don't see on this camera, we saw Arnold accidentally get in the back of Height after that corner 1 entry too, because the checkup occurred. So overall, just a weird stage end there. But right now, got to keep your eyes on forward here as pit lane is officially opened. And we're going to see pretty much the whole field come on down here. Whose virtual crews can give them the lunch to get a little bit ahead here and try to get that all-inclusive track position. We'll find in about 15 seconds time as everyone's hitting their box.
Yeah, again, this is where Dustin Hall got his lead back last time in the stage. Let's see if the pit stop is that way again here. Henderson, obviously pole position, will get the first pit stall here. It's all about who leaves first. Is it Hall? Is it Hunter Peach? It's gonna be Peach, then Susie, then Hall. So Susie, the big renegade gainer on that pit stop cycle, up to 2nd place. Over Hall, Wygett, Zier top 5, Height, Arnold, Meredith, Sharp, and Clavitt your top 10, Sasek 11th, and Blowers in 12th.
Yeah, that Hall's crew got on the lead at the end of stage 1, but today just couldn't get the job done and end the stage 2 here. Bit of a slower lunge there, but still at least P3 Sosi's crew got the work done. That will put him on the front row. Some other notables include Pacey Wygett's crew kept him in the spot. Caitlin Height got her 1 spot back. Lily Sharp crew got an advantage. So some crews did the work, others got a little slower. So overall, though, most drivers stay where they were at the end of stage number 1. Stage 2, I should say.
So the work has begun on getting ready for this final stanza. Over the half the race completed here. We'll be looking at a restart here with about 102 laps to go in the Southern 500.
A little more drama I'm hearing on the radio as well. Looks like Braille and Henderson may have had a little get-together as well. Obviously, not really worth noting. But the Canadian having a little bit back and forth on the radio right now clearly shows that their tempers are flaring. And with the playoffs starting, 2 playoff drivers here, we talked about Zier and Height not having a lot of love loss. Height is going to return the favor to Zier if that opportunity opens up. The same thing may happen in the reverse here. So overall, you don't want to make enemies, especially this early into a playoff, if you can help it. As we also see on the graphics, winless streaks and all the other things worth noting here. Obviously, Danny with the long winless drought here of winless drivers at 90. Donaldson, Apperson, Sasek, Thompson, and Arnold rounding out the top 6. Arnold with a good shout right now in P7 to try to break that current drought right now. But overall, tempers flaring, and I thought Bristol would be more of a chance to see a lot of these tempers flare. But right now, it is a bit of a hot pool down there with some of these drivers getting a little angry as we have now hit 1 to go in the stage.
Yeah, I'm surprised by how the tempers have really flared. I mean, obviously, you look at Caitlin Height's frustration, that was 100% warranted. Just getting kind of run over there in 1 and 2 by Zier, and they're starting alongside each other here on road 3. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, the 3 and the 50. But just very interesting how the patience has run out. And maybe it's because the race is longer, too. This is the longest race of the season. This is longer than what we had at Charlotte even earlier in the season. This will be a very interesting race to see how stage 3 goes. Stage 2 was a very frantic stage. Stage 3, though, this is where all the big points are scored. Everyone knows exactly what they have now and what they need to do to succeed if they want to become a winner of the Darlington Classic, the HTL Southern 500. It is Peach and Susie front of the field. Green flag is in the air and away we go. Stage 3 underway. This is for all the marbles. A win, and it's a ticket punched to the round of 8 potentially. You got to get there first.
And
Susie
you got to make all 3 races.
From Hall. Really big dive from Susie to try to defend from the 12. And there it goes, Dustin Hall sweeping around the outside of the 81 in 3 and 4.
And these playoffs are about momentum. We've seen drivers in real life turn it up when the playoffs occur, when we see the field get reset. It's when drivers really come to play. We saw Johnson do that many years when the chase reset. He'd have the summer slump come when the playoffs occurred, and he would instantly be ready to go. We saw Tony Stewart in 2011. We've seen it in more recent times as well, drivers finding that late run to propel them to a championship, and this may be the seeds we see sowing. Hall, obviously a strong driver. Shocked he's not found a win yet. Shocked he was at the point his way into Daytona, but right now has been a constant top 5 threat along with Hunter Peach throughout most of the night. And you can see Hall right now having to try to reel down. This is the first time he hasn't led in a long stint at the start of a restart since well over the first stage of this race. So being in now a little bit dirty air, fearing the pressure from Sosi, Wygen, and Height. See how that number 12 handles the pressure here, trying to get further up.
Peach leads the way. Good objective right now for Peach is just hold off 2 of HTL's absolute best in Josh Susie and Dustin Hall. 15 race wins, sitting just behind Hunter Peach. 7 for Dustin Hall, 8 for Josh Susie. Caitlin Height in 5th with 11.
And adding that, you got 1 championship and 1 regular season championship, so you can just keep adding to that total and just see how more and more prestigious drivers you got sitting behind right now, occupying your mirrors. Just makes that pressure a little bit more enthusiastic when you have those cars sitting behind.
Dustin Hall driving right up to the bumper of Hunter Peach, really just setting sail right now. I think it is go time for some of these drivers at the front of the field.
Yeah, I think they were waiting those first 2 stages out, knowing, hey, this is the final stage. It is the longest, over 100+ laps when we took the flag here to start the stage. At least 2 pit stops possibly looming in this stage alone in green flag. So overall, if this goes green, it is going to be a war of attrition. How these cars are running right now, the odds of it at least going green is remotely high. I'd say a 70% chance, but not 100, as we've seen a little bit some incidents happen throughout the second stage that may play a bit wary, considering the fact that once we get to the final stage, all bets are off. Drivers are less likely to be indicative. But right now, Hall still keeping Peach honest here, making peace push the throttle down here, maybe a little bit more than he's comfortable of, but regardless, they are now pulling away from third place Zosi.
And this is what we saw all of for stage 1 and stage 2. These two sort of isolating themselves from the rest of the field. This makes sense. This checks out with the trends that we've seen so far in this race, but this time Hunter Beach keeping Dustin Hall at arm's length. Caitlin Height got to the top 5 ahead of Zach Meredith, Lilac Zier in 7th. A good recovery for Zach Meredith, who was involved in that incident with Blake Henderson and Shad Swatsworth. Henderson still rolling, but in 20th, hoping that more chaos sort of just comes around here.
On the bright side, though, at least he's having a better run than Swatsworth, who's 16 laps down, who's pretty much bearing any major cautions, retirements, probably going to be stuck in the spot he's in, currently in 24th. And I was talking about in the pre-race, he's a favorite if we can get to Fontana, but it's still many weeks before we even get close to Fontana. So even though he was almost regular season champion, having great runs, putting up great points, with the reset, he's only, give or take, 5 points above the cut line. Right now, no stage points, bled points. He's pretty much going to have to go into Atlanta in a kind of recovery mode to try to make Kentucky a bit more manageable, or Kentucky will be a must-win. Same thing for some other drivers like Henderson, Braille, a few others that are currently buried in the back of the pack. Right now, though, is still the Peach Hall show. They've now opened up to 3 seconds and growing right now, and it makes you wonder if Zosi may be either saving his stuff or he just doesn't have that short run pace right now. And you can see the train forming behind. Meredith making a move on Height, aggressively back here. Height clips the wall just a tiny bit here. The 17 trying to clear himself, and he will. And now Zier going to be side by side with the 3. This is not going to end well. That's the same corner that was problematic last time, but the 50 going to get in front of the 3. No major blood loss there. 50 now up to spot 2, so Height loses 2 spots in the span of a corner. One of those cars goes low to try to make a move there.
Meredith, the catalyst there for that shifting of positions. Up to the top 5 behind his teammate Wygent. All 3 coast-to-coast racing cars in the top 10. Josh Arnold there in 8th. Sharp in 9th. Sask right now top 10 at the moment.
Move there by Meredith. He senses the pressure. Going to try to go low side of Wygent. He's going to get a job too. So Meredith really moving forward here for a car that lost his front clip about halfway through stage 2. He is really not showing any of the effects of that damage. Height now going to go low on Zier. This is going to be interesting to see what happens in this corner here. They will both fire it off into the corner. They'll still be side by side on exit. Meredith will keep the spot. Height can't get it done. Zier in the wall, tiny bit. Going to make it a drag race down this long stretch here between the 50 and the 3 right now. Speed finding out as the sun has officially set here in Darlington, South Carolina. Sun is setting cars single file for the most part here. A few making some runs and getting some runs right now to try to make things happen. But Peach and Hall have opened up 4 seconds on third place Josh Zosi, which we're currently following third pretty much all the way down to about 22nd, all in one screen. Just showing you how strong the top 2 are right now, as they are pulling away at a tremendous pace. Could be up to 5 seconds before we get another few laps in here. Oh, car in the back hit the wall. I think it was Morris. Could have been Odie. Luckily, though, it gets saved. No one goes around here. Just ahead of Morris, I believe it was. I think it was Odie that someone banged the wall there, one of those cars. Regardless, all of them keep it pointing in the right direction. We stay green, more importantly. Apperson, thank you for the correction there. I couldn't tell, a lot of black and blue cars. Braille, just to report something, has jumped to the pit lanes here. His day is officially done. So the second playoff car that's had some problems here, and it is day done for the number 44 machine, leaving us now with 14 playoff drivers running in the field right now. Just a report looking back, the 44 was basically just a retirement under his own power, no damage to report. Back up front, it is still Peach Hall, as they are just putting a mollywhopping on this field, as they have now opened up to about 5 seconds right now. But Hall not getting close enough really to lunge on Peach. Peach really holding his nerve here and not really showing any weaknesses here. Looking at the last times, for instance, right there, Peach was better by 0.2. We'll see if that holds a little bit further down here as the run continues on.
They have opened up almost 5 seconds on the field right now. They have set sail. And to Susie's credit, oh, trouble. That was Dean Clavitt. That went off of turn 4, almost had the inside wall. Dropped down to 16th place, just ahead of Bailey Thompson. That was almost a disaster for Clavitt.
Yeah, Clavitt, a playoff driver, has had a strong run, but he really seems to really struggle on the long run here. That is not going to help him out here, as he's now going to fall down to 17th, just ahead behind Bailey Thompson here, currently sitting in 16th. But at the very least, still at the train, but now the longest part of the train is the furthest back. We look on the left side of the screen here, just kind of noticed it. This is the first time probably in a long time that we've had the top 10 all be occupied by playoff drivers. We've usually seen like a Blowers, we've seen a Smeal, we've seen a Dotson, a Bailey Thompson kind of crash the top 10 here. This is the first time in a little bit we've seen it all be playoff drivers here. So as the stage goes on and we see the final stage, the cream usually rises to the top. Yes, we're seeing that right now play out in real time. Ooh, side-by-side, Zier and Wygen are side-by-side for 5th here, as they are very close right now. Wygen was trying to go low side, Zier trying to hang on. Zier will keep the spot. Wygen will now fall to 6th position, so Zier will keep her top 5, at least for now. But just shows the speed is coming to some of the cars that saved the rubber.
And this is something to sort of keep an eye on as well. With Zier in the top 5, she led a decent chunk of the early stages of this race, led 11 laps early on in this race, trying to chase down now Zach Meredith, the Season 3 champion in HTL Cup Series competition. Zier, as we mentioned, a fantastic runner in this race. The reason she is in this hole having to make up this ground is because of a speeding penalty in Stage 1. She is still not completely recovered from that, and we are, you know, less than, coming to 80 laps to go now. She is still just trying to get back to try even have a chance to compete with Peach and Hall. And remember, if things continue to go as they have been, there's more green flag pit stops in this race. So Zier's kryptonite so far tonight could still rear its ugly head. But right now, 11 laps left for Lilac Zier, who's right now sitting in the 5th position. Started this race top 3 and just trying to pound away at it. This is a missed opportunity regardless of how Zier looks at it. But how much can you recover missing out on being around Dustin Hall and Hunter Peach as they stay at the front of the field at the moment? Peach has opened up a 1.5 seconds almost on Dustin Hall here. Pit stops, they cannot be far away.
No, they cannot, considering we saw the pit stops last year on 122, knowing that we saw it go at max 40 laps, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later. We're looking at a window open up at the very least, probably at, doing some quick math, 157, 160 range is when we'll probably see majority of the drivers start to peel off, give or take. So we're about 10 laps away from the first of possibly 2 green flag pit stops in the final stage. And that raises the next question as well. Obviously, if you get to 160, at the very least 170, 180, 190, 122, you're looking at 60 laps, so unlikely to do it. But if you can cut it a little bit more, maybe a driver. We saw Bailey Thompson. We saw a few of the drivers really push it to 47, 48 laps. So we'll see if any of these drivers may be daring to try to make it on a one stop possibly, but I doubt that number is hittable. But maybe one driver will be crazy enough to try it, maybe a further back. Maybe the drivers that are a little bit torn up like Henderson, for instance, Apperson, who have nothing really to lose. Riding aboard here with Z, she just got around Zachary Meredith, so put her up now to 4th position as she is really climbing here. But I think she's one of those drivers that's going to need a caution to really benefit to get a run to win this race. Because I think if we get this real recycled, you saw early on in stage 1, she was bringing the thunder to Hunter Peach and Dustin Hall. So we'll have to keep an eye on that if a restart occurs. But so right now, Peach has opened up a 1.81 gap on the number 12 of Dustin Hall, and it is growing to the point where Hall is slowly getting closer to Sosi than he is to Hunter Peach.
Yeah, Dustin Hall, I think, brought up his equipment a lot trying to keep up with Hunter Peach. Josh Susi staying stationary as well in that gap as the race runs. This is further down the order. Zier in 4th, Meredith 5th, Wygent 6th, Kaylin Heights 7th, Lily Pautier Sharp. This is another interesting battle. These two, no love lost between these two either. Long history between Sharp and Height. 7th and 8th as Blowers interrupts the top 10 parade of playoff drivers. He is now in 9th. He's gone around Arnold and Sasek. And pit stops again, not far away. Everyone trying to stretch this as long as they can. But I think it's a 2-stop race from here, regardless of where you're looking at the moment. And Sharp gets around for that 7th position. Oh, contact! Oh, this is going to be interesting. Still contact between the 71 and the 3 into turn 3.
Yeah, no love lost between these drivers. They've also had some run-ins over the years. Sosi will get it, but you could see right there, Height. One word, nice wall ride. So you can tell Height's getting a bit frustrated here, and that's going to allow Blowers to capitalize. Will slot in. So right now, Sharp will keep 7th, Blowers to 8th, Height now down to 9th. And yeah, Height right now, very tough. Caution's out, though. This will be an interesting situation, as I'm trying to see who it was.
Bailey Thompson.
Blake. Yep, Bailey Thompson. Not Blake, Blayley Thompson. Blake Henderson is completely fine. Thompson has an incident. She is spun around, and she will get it going right now. So they look not much damage, but that's still going to cause a call.
I think there's more damage than we expected there. That front end's pretty bowed in.
Yeah, second look, yeah, and I see it now. It was a little far away. Yeah, so we'll take a look here, see what happened.
And
keep an eye on that.
In real time.
Green and orange machine right now to Lily Frazier.
Just really drives it in. And nowhere for Frazier to go. Frazier is kind of a passenger there. Gave Thompson all the space in the world. Was already up near the wall. And Thompson just drove it in really deep. See if we can get a better angle of this. Let's see if we can get our chopper cam up in view here. Use our instant slow-mo here. Again, this is Frazier in the 57, who had a run-in earlier, tried to force through that didn't work. Not an aggressor here. Sees the 27 coming, tries to get up the racetrack, and Thompson just drives in super deep. And just turns right into the wall there. Nowhere Frazier can go in the slightest. And this was the reset that Zier really needed.
You can even say the same about Sosi and a few others, too.
Yes. Dustin Hall, really big-time save there as well for him, and that's where the damage came for Thompson. That nose-to-nose contact with Austin Mongold, who was trying to lock up and avoid contact there. Henderson avoids it. So does Zach Apperson. And we'll ride on board here with the 55 of Frazier, I believe, if we can get to load up. There we go. And you're going to see pretty quickly how things change. Not a lot of damage for Frazier, thankfully. Easy repairable. It's not ideal, though.
Nope, not ideal in the slightest. But it could have been a lot worse for the 57 Kit Kat machine.
So Thompson comes out of pit lane. Still some damage on the 27 car, but Not to just repair that over time. Hunter Peach still at the front of the field. Over Dustin Hall, Josh Susie, Lilac Zier. That's as they were entering their pit stops there. Meredith 5th, Wygen 6th. Caitlin Height back ahead of Sharp. 7th and 8th there. Arnold and Sasek, your top 10. So Flowers losing some spots there on pit lane. Then it's Smeal, Clavitt, Dotson, Denny, Mongold, Frazier, Odie, Morris, Apperson, Thompson, with Henderson and Swatsworth back down pit lane. Henderson getting more repair work done. Swatsworth already out of pit lane. And Henderson on his way out of pit lane now as well. Still missing, it looks like, that nose on the 25 car. But he is, I believe, still just coming down pit lane anyway. Getting to his box. The slow process to try to get this car back in shape to just try to be a contender here. He has been able to go effectively nowhere in this stanza of the race. And he's gonna just do enough to get some more work done before he goes a lap down there. The field will double up and get ready to go racing once again. A frantic race has broken out here, but it has not been frantic for Hunter Peach, who seems in control here in Darlington. Again, for everyone tuning in, this is the HTL Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway here on Aviate Esports 1. Darlington Raceway, 1.31 miles a lap here around the Lady in Black. Hunter Peach trying to add to his winning resume. If he can grab a Southern 500 win, that would be a huge boost for him. Dustin Hall wants to return to victory lane for the first time this season. First time since season 3. Josh Susie looking to kick off his championship defense in a top tier form as well. Green flag back in the air and away we go. Peach, really good restart there. As they all sail through turns 1 and 2 now. Susie clear of Zier. And it's still side by side, multiple rows throughout the field. Meredith and Wygent teammates side by side for 5th. Dustin Hall right there in tow with Wygent.
Hall wants to move.
With Peach. Almost contact there on the quarter panel of Peach there. But Peach stays running at the front of the field over Hall.
Honestly, I think Hall may have caused some desperation there, knowing how the long run played out for Peach. He was pretty much unpassable. So I think he sensed he had to get something done there, but just couldn't get it done. That corner panel, Clavitt way off the road, getting a little squirrely, but he will keep it pointing the right direction. But that thing was about to hook the other direction. If he's not careful, car in the wall. Josh Sosie's stuck on the high side. He's lost 2-3 spots as he has been pinched there, and he is continuing to fall outside the top 10 and falling. So it looks like Sosie may have just got stuck to the wall there, and this could be bad news for the defending champion of HTL, as he's now outside the top 10 and still falling.
Not a great job for Josh Susie on that restart there. See if we can get a look at what happened here on this replay. What happens? Obviously, see Dean Clavitt goes for a wild send. Oh!
Oh!
Zier again.
Contact. Yeah, that's not good. That's the corner she's made moves on, but that's more contact there. She is got to A, be getting close to that incident limit. B, also maybe facing her ass at the stewards, considering how aggressive she's been making moves. We'll ride on board here with Lilac Zier, heading off into 3. We'll see if it was contact.
Yeah,
maybe
just
that
sends it in.
Yeah.
That's not good driving standards there from Zier at all.
No. Again, maybe desperation, but you still got to be respectful of the cars around, because now Sosie, who has a bit of a buffer, but now he is 14th when he was looking at a top 5, at least in the right now. So overall, that's going to be at least a bit of a talking to between the two drivers. Back up front, though, Hall has caught about a 10th to Hunter Peach, and he is in striking distance right now to make a move for the lead of this race. Hall has really turned it up here in this his last couple laps here. He's reeled back in this 20. And you can see right now he is hounding the back of this Sour Patch Kids number 20 machine. Now he's going to go middle to low here on the corner. Can he get the runoff he needs? Ooh, on exit, just can't get that fender on the corner panel here. But he is showing Peach that I'm not going to roll over and die.
Right now, it is a two-course race once again, thanks to Zero moving Susie out of the way.
Caution's out, maybe around Sasek. It's not Sosi, though, was involved. Sosi, Morse, and Apperson. And it's going to be right there, Sosi. And I think Sasek may have had a piece in this, too. As I hear him on the radio apologizing, but...
this is where Susie's going to be livid here. And, oh, this looks like it might start... Oh, this starts with Sasek. Obviously, he turns off for Denny here. See if we can get our chopper cam up and rolling. And Susie's going to be livid now. Because of the move Lalexir made that almost spun Susie outright, now he's involved in this as well. I have a feeling that there's going to be something that happens with Zero on that one.
Yeah, because it put him back with the squirrels, and, well, overall, he got involved in an incident here.
It's just a sentence. Can't keep it down the racetrack. Yeah.
Then Denny kind of checked up on speed, Sosi nowhere to go, and that caused the big incident there. Multiple cars involved.
Yeah, not good if you're Josh Susie. He's going to be absolutely fuming at this stanza here because nothing he can do here. He's not supposed to be in this position anyway, and if Zero had driven a lot more respectfully, it wouldn't be that way. That's in full speed. What happened to Josh Susie and others?
And now it gets a little interesting too, as we see cars coming in: Apperson, Odie, Sosi, Morse, Henderson, and Mongold. Looking at the range here, doing some quick math. That's 60 laps, so you're not going to make it to the end here to pit stop. Also, it gets to the interesting factor right now is we've talked about incident point limits. Now, obviously, like I said, the incident limit is intact here in HTL. However, it is not implicated by automatic penalty here. So, technically speaking, some of these drivers could be at that limit or above that limit, who knows, and they could be at risk of facing additional penalties if that information is unearthed. So, right now, I'm not trying to point fingers or trying to say anything, just saying you gotta be careful right now if you're close to that limit, because you may not get reprimanded this race, but you could get reprimanded the next race if it is found out. Should see another lap of pacing here. Peach, Hall, 1-2 right now with Zier, Wyjet, Meredith, Sharp, Blowers, Height, Arnold, Smeal, your top 10. With a green flag, another pit stop still looming for everyone. And what can make it to the end? The question mark is, will we see that be under green, or will we see that be under yellow? And in turn, if it is under green, do drivers try to save, or do drivers try to go hard out?
I think you do try to kind of go all out here on this.
You got to take 4 regardless, so it doesn't matter how much fuel put in. You may save a couple temps, but 4 tires is still going to be equivalent of like 12, 13. So it makes more sense to go hard out. The one positive I could say is Blowers, if we do get a late caution, would have an extra set because he didn't take it when he saved out. But even then, that's a bit of a consolation prize per se. But right up front, Peach, Hall, 1-2. Zier, obviously a lady on a mission right now. She'll be inside row at row 2. What can she do here to try to get a little bit closer? Because we know she's got a fast car, but does she have anything for this top 2?
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting with Zier already moving 2 people in this race.
And
teammates nonetheless, Caitlin Height and Josh Susie.
Oh. She picked the 2 strongest Lady Liberty drivers to get involved with. That's one thing for certain. The 2 strongest ones on the season.
And remember, next week's race is Atlanta.
Yep. Where you have to have friends or allies or whatever. You just basically locked yourself out of Lady Liberty and Valkyrie giving any help if the push comes late. So Yeah, not a good spot to really put yourself in, but she does have some strong drivers in Stepping Stone, so we'll see how it all plays. But up front, it's going to be Peach Hall, Zier Wygent row 2, Meredith Sharp row 3, Ballers Height row 4, Arnold Smeal, your first 5 rows here as we'll fire off with lap 172, looking at give or take just under 60 laps to go before we see a checkered flag. Pace car is going to pull on off. Control will be on Hunter Peach. Let's enter the restart zone. Green flag is out, and away we go for the 6th time tonight. Peach gets a good launch. Wygent as well, and Wygent's going to try to rip it around the high side here on Hall. Be a big battle for second, heading off into 1. Zier did not get going. She fell down to 6th here and got buried quickly. She's now going to have to make a move on Meredith here for 5th. Sharp in 4th, but top 2 keep their spots though. Peach gets first, Hall in 2nd. You can see Hall knocking on the door right now as he's got a great run on that number 20 here, but trying to make a move that he couldn't do before the stage ended just a couple laps ago. Meanwhile, you can see Zier holding on, Meredith, and then there's Bobby Blowers in spot. So we're still focused on Zier here.
I'm surprised with Zier having such a slow restart there, and just kind of watching as all of this sort of plays out here. Obviously still thinking long run pace as this race sort of plays along. But now the drivers that were outside the top 10 beginning to make their way in. Frazier's moved her way back into the top 10 here. And now it's a lot more jostling for positions. It seems like a different sort of like firing of the guard here is going on in the top, at least around the top 10 here, with just everyone seeming to be on different sequences now.
Sorry to cut you off. Hall side by side for the leader, heading off into 1. He boxes Peach into the wall. He just pushed him into the wall there. Hall takes the lead, Peach the 2nd. Now Wygent trying to capitalize well. Think Hall had to try something there, but was he? It's going to be an interesting move there at the very least. Hall, though, sends it. He'll get the spot, put him on the first, Peach now in the 2nd.
See if we can get a replay of that pass for the race lead here. This is down the front straightaway towards turn 1, side by side with him into 1. I think that's more Peach trying to turn it down and Hall being there. I think Hall firmly had himself side by side, and Peach tried to turn down and take his normal line, and Hall was not having it there. But I don't think Hall moved him per se. I think that's kind of Peach reaping what he sowed there on that attempt to try to just take a normal apex. It's not like what we saw with Zier, where she just walked over someone's quarter panel twice. That was firmly side by side, door to door.
True. Looking at that replay does open up more of an ideology and a view, but still, top 2 colliding like that regardless is still going to send shockwaves down this field. And regardless, if Hall does one thing, you know Hunter Peach thinks the other thing, and the same thing in reverse. Both drivers could be thinking, hey, that was not my fault, it was the other driver. Regardless of who's right and who's wrong, only after the race will you truly get that view of seeing what happens. But Hall will take the lead back. He will lead that lap. It'll be Hall, Peach, Wygent, Sharp, Zier, your top 5. Looking at this top 5, I was talking about in the pre-race. Sharp, someone that really finds her form when the going gets tough. We'll have to keep an eye on her in that number 71 as she's now sitting in 4th position.
Now, obviously, that contact with the wall did not hurt Peach too awful much there. He is still very much in the play for the conversation piece here at the front of the field. But now, 100%, blood is beginning to boil over. And this is where things can turn into nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Could be a spot where, again, aggression leads aggression. Next thing you know, Peach sends something aggressive on Hall. They both get collected. Next thing you know, they take each other out of this race. We saw it at North Wilkesboro many weeks ago. We saw it at The Rock, too. We've seen it at tons of tracks this season where one driver was dominating the race. They had a little contact, a little mistake, and next thing you know, they were out of contention as quick as you could set it. So drivers have to be careful to keep their head on, especially being such a long race. You don't want to lead 90% of it, and then the last 10% you soil the bag. But Hall, Peach still keeping it their top two between those two.
Keep an eye on Sharp. Slowly just kind of staying in contention here. Obviously, Blowers moving forward as well, the 94 car. Sharp is dangerous in the later stages of races like this. Obviously, right now behind Wydred, he was a very valid obstacle. But we've seen, especially on Sunday nights, how good Peltier Sharp can be in these scenarios. Trying to do so here when the pressure is high. And she's someone that is expected to be an early exit in the playoffs. Right now in contention for a really good finish to at least set up at least a buffer for Atlanta if Atlanta does go south. Right now, everyone rolling through the field at the moment. Peach closing right back in. This could be very physical at the front of the field. I don't think we want to turn away too often long from the front of the field battle here with what things are looking like at the moment. Obviously, a lot of talking points here. Josh Susie 21st. That's going to really negate the advantage she had points-wise going into tonight with Atlanta next week. Henderson in 19th after what he had as a fantastic start of this race, really evolving to nothing out of everything that turned out tonight. Gaiman and Braille, early exits. They need to do really well the next 2 weeks between Atlanta and Kentucky. Josh Arnold trying to get back into the top 10, battling Lily Frazier for 11th at the moment. Connor Morris in the top 10. Peach has stalled out a little bit here, about a quarter second behind Hall. And we know, again, there's at least one pit stop left in this race with what things are looking like right now.
I do want to bring up something else. We've seen the callback to A squared. They went to Darlington. Zier tried to undercut. We saw last night at Miami, drivers trying 2 tires. Now, obviously, tires are important around here. I'm not saying a driver is going to make 2 tires and make it work correctly. I want to point out that we've seen drivers try really risky strategies when that range plays out, and one driver that's probably on that boat is both Sharp and Zier, sitting 3rd and 4th. They are drivers that are willing to try something different to try to get that spot. So keep an eye on them. If we get a green flag pit stop, they may be willing to roll the dice, go for a super undercut just to try to get a sniff of that lead and try to take this thing home. But we saw, end of stage 1, the undercut works, but Peach was able to reel in Hall on a 3-lap undercut difference. And if we take our minds back to the real-life race, there is that risk of trying the undercut. You're more likely to get caught. Tires are a premium around Darlington.
And right now, lap times beginning to still tick further and further closer to the final 40 laps of this race. Lap 187 underway of 2:28. 42 laps to go. It is Dustin Hall leading Hunter Peach by 0.3 of a second. Lily Peltier Sharp has gotten around Pacey Wydren, who's dropped down to 6th. But now Peltier Sharp and Lilac Sear 3rd and 4th. And we've seen the desperation from Lilac Sear. We've not had to worry about it from Peltier Sharp. But now Sharp is a roadblock for Zier in this conversation. Obviously, I don't think teammate violence is going to happen here. But we've seen Zier be a lot more reckless tonight than we've seen Zier be her entire stanza in HTL competition. What happens if these 4 all get together and Peltier Sharp drives in once again a little bit too deep? And now Zier's got to make his decision. Either you stay in line and help your teammate, or you try to go for yourself here. Again, a pit stop to go. They've caught up to the front of the field. When does the teammate strategy stop? It's a lot easier question to ask at a plate track than here at Darlington. At a plate track, it's always, you're there until the white flag. You can't just hold off until the white flag here at Darlington. You've got to think about it a little bit earlier. When do you make that thought process?
I'm honestly the camper now because it seems like a couple corners Zier keeps the speed. I'm not seeing consistent enough fall by Sharp, though, that I think Zier has to press the issue. Look at Sharp right now. She gained a couple tenths there. She's holding distance to Peach. So I don't think Zier's really in that pressure zone right now, especially because she's not feeling the pressure from behind with Blowers. It's enough space right now, but you can see right now Zier going to go low, so eat my words, I will, and she will go around. So maybe Sharp realizing maybe it's better to allow Zier to chase down Peach and Hall and fight it up to give yourself a better chance rather than hold up the 50 and bring you both down. So maybe a bit of reversal fortune. Sharp may have just got a little mistake there. Regardless, Zier now up the third. She's going to be the Pied Piper for Stepping Stone to try to reel in Peach, make it a bit of a race, and in turn, maybe open the door for Sharp to get a few extra spots.
Zier now 100% in the fray here, and remember the rules that are in place. 17 incident points gets you disqualified.
Obviously, that will be enforced after the race. I don't think any driver is going to come on the radio with the honor system and say, I got 17 points.
No, absolutely not. No.
No.
No, I definitely think at this point you are firmly in the stanza of try to go for it, and that's what Zier is doing, going for second place. Trying to drive around Hunter Peach, and does. Zier up to P2. And just drove around Peach, that time clean. Now she's got to line up Dustin Hall to do the exact same thing.
But I gotta think, you think that speeding penalty sitting on her mind, because if we're looking at a poise of a green flag pit stop.
We're not far away.
Yeah, and that she got a penalty for that. Obviously, that could change her line coming into pit lane where she may be more cautious. That could cost her time. At the same point as Sharp just mows down that wall trying to keep up with the top three here, that could sit in her mind. But if she tries to go aggressive again, she could speed again and make it even worse. So she's got to be careful here. But right now, main goal right now, not thinking about pit stop. She's thinking about getting around this 12, and then she can worry about it later. But right now, sitting in second, top four have broken away from Blowers, but Blowers is still kind of hanging on there, just maybe about a half a second away from that number 71. And then you also got Connor Morse. He's up to sixth right now, but I can say one thing, he is over the incident limit because he did self-report himself. So whether that position holds or not is in the air, but he's doing good in that number 6 spot regardless, as Zier hits the wall a tiny bit along with Peach there as well.
Yeah, everyone driving pretty hard now. Blowers in the mix, Morris in the mix, but as you mentioned, Morris over 17 incident points. He could be disqualified after the race, and just about everyone tagged the water too there. As we approach 30 laps to go, and Zier's in now. Zier's come down pit lane this time, and it's going to be close. Made it.
Almost at the incinerator.
Woo, that was close. Zier makes it, so does Caitlin Height coming down pit lane. Dustin Hall, a little reprieve. The pit stop window is firmly open now with 33 laps to go in Darlington.
I did say she'd be the one that would go for the undercut along with Sharp. Caitlin Height also to come in as well, same time. So they're both in. Sharp coming in this time too. So they, like I was kind of hinting to, they've been the ones that really love the undercut. Hunter Peach, late call, he's in as well. So Peach along with Sharp in, along with Meredith. So Hall gonna go the long way here. I don't know if I like this call.
I don't like it because Hall has not had the long run car. But that's also, I think, the big detriment here for Hall is that he's trying to put himself in a position to be better off at the end of this race to give pursuit.
And we saw stage one.
But I don't think, and he's going to come in this time to sort of respond to it. I
think it's response bias because he went early stage one, got the lead, but then he got caught.
Yeah.
Tried by Peach. So I think he wants the fresher tires, at least by maybe a lap, to try to make it, because he's on dead tires with Peach. He seems to be faster at the moment, so he may lose the lead. But the problem is, we saw to the tail end of the stage, Zier's going to zoom on by Hall. She will presumably take the lead and cycle around one more time. We'll have to see. But to finish my point, it's going to be hard because Hall struggled to make that pass late on in stage two once that gap grew. But right up front right now, Peach will come ahead of Sharp. Sharp will not be able to jump. They both will come ahead of Caitlin Height, who's going to be stuck behind both of them. So the question is now, where will Zier blend? She's got a healthy gap to Peach, at least by a half a straightaway. So this is going to play well into her hands.
She's going to get the race lead easily because Dustin Hall just left pit lane.
There he is.
Yeah, it's very easily front of the field now for Lilac Zier. Looking at the pit stop timers here, I know we haven't really showed it much on screen recently. This was a 4-tire stop for Zier. So everyone largely on that 4-tire strategy. Zier just a lot better on the outlap, and that could be attributed to not having traffic on those outlaps, being able to actually get up to speed a lot quicker.
It also helps. She had a 50.92 pit lane time and a 14.25 pit stop time to Dustin Hall's 51.03 14.42. She had the fastest on-off pit lane and fastest pit stop time. So her crew did the work for her. So even with the clean track and all the intros and exits, that gave her that little extra oomph to get this much of a gap. And right now, obviously, we'll see where it cycles through in a moment when everyone pits in. Pacey Wygen has officially pitted. But now, if you're a fan of Zier, Hall, the rest that came in, you are hoping this thing stays caution-free until everyone pits. Blowers, Sosi, Frazier, and the rest are going to go as long as their tanks can, as that's probably their only reprieve to get back in this race.
Yeah, Blowers right now, the race leader, over Josh Susi, Louis Frazier in third, just behind Lilac Zier there. There's Susi. Trying to hold off the 50 car a little bit here, slowing up this 50 Zier just a little bit. Remember, no love lost here. These two got into each other earlier in this race. Susi drove himself a little bit deep there in 1 and 2, but no love lost there between Susi and Zier at all.
And I'm watching a little bit of some of these drivers further back. Like right now, Mongold kind of held up a little bit. Odie held up Sharp and a few others. That's going to make that gap third even farther as they're now dealing with this traffic. Meanwhile, Zier and Hall have had nothing really to deal with here, as it has been smooth sailing for the most part for those drivers. So overall, it is clean track for some, and that what we saw at the end of stage 1 helped a lot of these drivers here. So, well, how it plays is going to be interesting, but right now, it's all Zier's hands right now, as she's got a healthy gap to Dustin Hall by about half a corner, I should say. But question is, with those tires going to be wearing a little bit stronger than Hall's, can Hall capitalize when the tires maybe fall off? 25 laps to go. It is Blowers, Sosi, Clavitt, Mongold, Odie, Henderson, your top 6, with Blowers going to pit this time by.
Yep, the cycling of the race lead going to change hands here. Zier expected to take over the lead of this race once all the pit stops have been played through here. Susi now the race leader once again, but he's got another pit stop he needs to make here in this race. Susi last pit on lap 168, same with Austin Mongold. A caution now would help out the top 3 significantly. It would not help out someone like Hunter Peach or Lily Pelletier Sharp. They have not gone around Susi yet. And there they are. Clavitt looks like he's coming down pit lane this time. And he did. So it's Susi, Mongold, Henderson, top 3. They have yet to make a pit stop here. Here comes Peach and company trying to get around the 81, who is still staying out even longer here. But he really doesn't have a lot of options here. Was stuck down in 21st position for the longest time in stage 3 after being spun out by Zier and then caught up in the incident with Sasik as Sharp's in the wall.
Uh-oh, right in front of Height.
Wall that was by Connor Morse. So Height there by proximity, but not the cause. And now Morris under threat from Sharp once again, who's trying to get a little bit of retribution for that contact just a lap ago. Coming to 20 laps to go. And again, I don't think there's a chance, realistically speaking, that Susi can go 60 laps on fuel. We didn't see anyone go 50.
No, not unless he's got an illegal fuel tank somewhere on that machine or virtual mileage aren't ticking off. That is not going to happen.
Realistically, he's got to fit in the next 10.
Yeah. And the problem is going this long, yeah, he's basically made his bed. He is going to need a caution if he wants any chance of capitalizing. Same thing with Mongold, same thing with Henderson. Worth noting, though, the gap between Zier and Hall right now is getting a little closer. It's about 1.5 and shrinking. So those tires may be starting to fall off a little bit. Hall really flexing his muscles here. But right now, it's still a big gap to make up.
The big gap, but definitely doable if you're Dustin Hall. Looking at 20 laps to go, 19 to go at the line if you're Josh Susie. Everyone still has a lot to play for here. Top 10 have gotten back on the lead lap. They've gotten around Josh Susie to get their lap back here. Right now we're looking just inside the top 10. Morris, Sharp, and Caitlin Height, 7th, 8th, and 9th on your screen. Following the contact between Connor Morris and Lily Pautier Sharp, that set the French-born driver backwards spot to the 74 car. Zach Meredith looking at a top 10 will be his second of the season total. And talking with Meredith earlier, this was a much-needed top 10 if he could get it. He wanted to start off on the right foot. He has not had a lot of luck go his way in the first 15 races of the season for him. 16 races overall in the regular season. He missed one race in the regular season. The top 10 right now would be exactly what the doctor ordered for the 17 team if he's trying to get a second championship. Susie just hoping something bails him out there. It looked like it could have been Sharp for a moment, but they have isolated themselves once again. Mongold has called it at time. He is in pit lane. He stayed out as long as he could. But fuel came knocking first, and he needed to come in to get some fuel there. He's going to be a shorter stop there for Mongold, and I think that's the only saving grace for Josh Susie, is that this pit stop, when it comes in, is going to be a very short stop. But
it is,
it's going to be too little too late there. Henderson holding up Zier a little bit, and you see the gaggle of cars here. Henderson with the nose now once again. Got enough of that car repaired that he actually has a nose to that car. But it's all for naught at the moment. And obviously some teammates working together there. Dustin Hall in the 12. You saw him just off in the distance being let by Henderson. Henderson was not fighting Hall at all. That gap is closed down 1.2 seconds now between the 50 and the 12.
It is closing and closing quickly.
Henderson in pit lane.
Yep, Henderson in. That's going to only mean one car is left. The number 81, our defending champion, and he is now in as well. Oh, he hit the cone, but he will make it in. So Sosi pitting. It is stop done for him. This means our lead is going to be the number 50 when this cycles through. Gap of maybe 1.5. See one car in between right now. That is going to be Odie and Apperson. Sorry, two cars that are going to separate right now between Zier and Hall. Worth noting as well, we know incident points could play a factor here. We know Hall's run a pretty clean race, but there is at least a slight cloud over Zier with some of the contacts she had. Now, we're not implying she's at 17. We don't know what she's at. She could be at any number. But
yeah, she could be at 4, she could be at 6, she could be at 8. Yeah. But it's a question mark that right now that the stewards will have to go over and evaluate here. Because she's had a couple of really serious run-ins, and she needs to make sure that she doesn't have any more. And we know how physical Darlington tends to be at the end of these races. A lot of side-by-side finishes come to mind. And with Dustin Hall closing in more and more, less than a second away, it's all to play for right now. And there's Richard Odie in the 78 trying to get a lap back here. I do believe, yeah, he is the first car one lap down, so he has an incentive to try to get a lap back here on Zier. In case that lane caution does come out, he will not have to worry about the free pass.
And attorney has a right to fight. Speaking of, Joshua Sosi still in pit lane, by the way, 53, 54, 55 seconds. So just adding wounds to the body right now. He missed the commitment line, so there might have been a penalty there for the 81. So self-inflicted at the end for Josh Susie, keeping him out of the running. He'll be 21st, 2 laps down at least. Yeah, he's firing away now. He's in range, maybe even getting caught by, well, he'll get a couple laps ahead of Sasek, so he won't go any higher, he won't go any lower unless another caution were to fly. and more cars were to wreck. But right now, it is still the Zier show up front. Half a second, though, between her and Hall. Both these drivers have yet to win this season. Both are winless. Obviously, Hall has more wins in an HTL Cup Series competition than Zier does. Hall has 6. Zier, I believe, has none. And Zier are going to come out. And I think this could be a little bit of an interesting situation. Sosi may have a bit of a memory here about what happened with her and Zier. What does Sosi do? How does he play this out here? He's going to fight, that's for true. But does he make Zier's life a living HE double hockey sticks?
It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Dustin Hall's like, please move out of the way. Make this a one-on-one fight. Susie's got some receipts. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Oh, that's close.
And Zier can't just let him go, because if she even kind of pulls out a line, Hall is right there to move. So right now, Sosi's in the middle, and Zier's going to fight for her life here, because even if she slips up a little bit, Sosi makes a move. Next thing you know, Hall's right there. No cars between.
Oh, Misery likes company. That is for sure. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. 9 laps to go, coming to 8 to go at the line. Susie drives underneath and keeps the door open, side by side. Oh, Zier's not going to be happy, but this, I think, was earned. 9 to 8 to go at the line. And Susie really fighting Zier here.
At this point, you have to maybe let him go.
This is not great. Yeah, it's not great, because that's exactly why. You can't just check up here, because here comes Hall. Oh, Zier's not happy.
No, now Zier's got dirty air in front, too, to make things even a bit worse.
Oh, my goodness. And
now
Hall
Odie's
is
there,
right
too.
there. Odie's there, trying to get a lap back, too. But importantly, Dustin Hall is there. And this is a situation, you win and you move on to the next round. You don't have to worry about racing through Atlanta. In Atlanta, we know how frantic that race can be in 7 days' time. Zier driving to the bottom. Hall lifts up a little bit, trying to find a way around. Zier defending religiously here with 6 laps to go.
And let's keep this in mind. Zier coming tonight was only 3 above the line. Hall was 1 back. No one has that big of a cushion. They don't have a Sosi gap. They don't have a Wygent gap of 25, 16 points. They are skating on the edge here. So a win, bearing they make the other 2 races, because again, it's not a win you're in per se. You have to make all 3 races in a round for that win to count. So all drivers will have to consistently make the 3 attempts, but assuming they both do, that would be the advancement. And right now, Zier is not cracking under the pressure here. We got another lap completed here. We're going to have 5 laps to go. Gap is stabilized, but you know, Sosi, if he can get within a dive-bombing distance on the last lap, Hall is going to take it.
This is going to be very interesting. This is going to be very, very, very interesting over these next 5 laps. And Susie, I know, is trying to pack the air on the 50 car, because the gap, as you mentioned, was stabilized. It's stabilized to the 81 too. But I think it's helping Zier more than anything, because it's slipstream down the straightaways.
Yeah.
And it's pulling Zier away from Hall. I don't think this is working the way I think Susie was anticipating it would. Zier Zier got loose at a 2.
Yeah, so maybe it's playing. 2's been the tricky spot. And you know, this is where you even get stretchy, because you know you want to push, but you gotta push as comfortable as you can. If you let off now, it's not like you have a 2-second gap where you can kind of coast. You have the hungry line behind you with 3 laps to go in Dustin Hall, and one mistake like that could be life or death in your HTL playoff chances here. 3 laps to go, coming off of 2, keeps it clean. No driver gets loose here. Gap is now back up to 4/10. Zier is quicker, but a little bit less stable than Hall is.
Big time moments here for Lilac Zier. 2 laps to go here in Darlington for the HTL Southern 500. Zier looking to punch her ticket in immediately to the round of 8. She was someone people expected to be a round of 4 contender, but it's been a messy race for the 50 car. It comes down to this. Through 3 and 4 for the final time. Dustin Hall has fallen back. white flag presented by Henderson Graphics. And it's in the hands of Pennsylvania's Lilac Sear. Josh Susie tried to intervene and make life difficult, but instead it's a given 0 lifeline ahead of Dustin Hall, who is down to 2/10. Now a second away. Lilac Sear can thank Susie for the slipstream. Comes out of turn 4. She's got a crown jewel. Lilac Sear wins the Southern 500. She's in the round of 8. Dustin Hall rounds out second after finishing second in stages 2 and 1. And Hunter Peach, after sweeping the stages, can only ask for third. Ahead of Connor Morris, Lily Sharp, Bobby Blowers, Kaylin Height, Zach Meredith, another top 10, Pacey Wygen, and Josh Arnold. The Coast to Coast Racing Team, all 3 of them top 10 here in Darlington. But it is Lilac Sear, your race winner for the HTL Southern 500.
It feels good when you find victory, and you can feel it right now. She is going to be ecstatic right now with that win, as it's basically given her a lifeline in the playoffs. Obviously, it's been a long time since she's last found victory lane, and right now she will get that win and be very, very pleased. Pressure's off, and maybe a bit of a consolation prize from last night where she couldn't get the championship, but still, she's going to be very excited, and she's a very mute celebration. A little bit happy, but figured it'd be a lot more smoke piling out of that number 50 machine.
I think the question mark that obviously comes out of this is obviously, what were the incident points looking like going into this race? Obviously, I think very interesting just how everything turns out. It looks like Sear got 0 incident points.
Yeah, no,
from
0.
From that race. Sear, Hall, and Peach, they cleared. Connor Morris had 24, which is rough.
Yeah, no other driver. DeMonte Johnson was at 16.
Yeah, but no one else in danger there. So Connor Morris under threat of potential disqualification here. Everyone else good on that frame. So Lilac Sear, despite the contact in this race, no incident points whatsoever. So very fortunate there that she's gotten out of that, but obviously now drawing the ire as she puts the car in the wall there, oddly, doing the Polish victory lap.
Yeah, gotta make sure the car passes tact.
Yeah, but Lilac Sear, obviously a race win, puts her in the round of 8 immediately. We'll hear from podium finishers here momentarily. I've let Kevin handle the interviews here as we cover everything around the race here, the HTL Southern 500, as Sear will complete the Polish victory lap. An outstanding job there. Let's go ahead and walk through the results here tonight. A wild race in Darlington for the HTL Southern 500. Let's walk through the results on your screen. It's Lilac Sear, Dustin Hall, Hunter Peach, front of the field. They are your podium finishers here tonight. Connor Morris in 4th. Lily Poitier Sharp, Bobby Blowers, your top 6. Kaylin Height, 7th. Zach Meredith, Pacey Wygen, Josh Arnold, your top 10, ahead of David Smeal and Lily Frazier, your top 12. Here in Darlington, a good turn of form for all 12 of those drivers there. Frazier from 26th to 12th, a good 14 position gain there for the 57 crew here tonight. Looking further down the order, this is where you'll find Dean Clavitt in 13th, starting this race 7th. Did not go well in stage 3 for Clavitt, but a good recovery just to keep this car on the lead lap and going. Ahead of Alfred Denny, 14th, DeMonte Dotson, Bailey Thompson, Austin Mongold, Richard Odie, your top 18. Apperson and Henderson round out the top 20. For Henderson from pole position, once again not able to see this race through the way he wanted to tonight. Josh Susie, 21st, 2 laps down at the end and a factor in the finish of this race. Eli Sasek, Shad Swatsworth, some of the DNFs in tonight's race ahead of Jeremy Braille. And then the last 3 cars, will not bring them up on the screen here. But that's where you find Josh Gaiman, Caleb Carter, and Elias Flores.
Yeah, so looking at that real fast, just quickly go over some notes. Swatsworth, Braille, Gaiman, looking at some of the numbers they have going to points unofficially, at least doing some reverse math, that is going to be a lot of bleeding points. Gaiman Ellis had an 8-point lead. Swatsworth only had 1. Braille was under the line, so this is basically going to put them in spots where they're going to have to try to dig their way out of a hole here. Again, it's not be-all, end-all for the drivers that lost points here. Atlanta's probably not a must-win, but Atlanta being kind of a wild card track, they have to keep the car clean and try to get some good points to make Kentucky more manageable, because you do not want to go into Kentucky making that a must-win week if you can help it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we'll hear from podium finishers here. Again, I'll let Kevin handle the podium interviews here tonight as we cover the back-end stuff here from the Southern 500. Hunter Peach starting off the festivities here, third place finish after winning both stages here tonight.
Yep, so we're brought in our third place finisher, Hunter Peach. How you doing?
Doing all right, just a little devastated.
Yeah, you definitely had a strong car out there. But first, I got to kind of go to the point. Speaking of that strong car, how did it, because you were dominating out there in the first two stages. What was the secret? Because you seem to be very strong at these kind of short-ish old NASCAR tracks like The Rock and Darlington. So what's kind of the secret out there?
I don't know. I guess just run the wall. I guess that's what I like to do, but Iris didn't allow me to do it. But no, it was a hell of a car. I would say probably the best Darlington car I've ever had. So definitely fast, and it was kind of just trying to survive most throughout the run.
Mm-hmm. Moving further on, we'll talk about your battle with Hall, because you were pretty much throughout the night, you were having a battle with Hall in and out. So kind of take us to the thoughts on that too, because you both seem like you were the two titans on the Darlington track.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. I hope y'all enjoyed the battle. I thought it was hella fun. They go toe to toe. One of the best in HTL, if not Caitlin Height. I know they're both pretty good. So obviously, Sochi's climbing up there, but to go toe to toe with him, it just shows that the rankings want to put me down, but we come out here, have a strong performance, and just sets ourselves up for success later on. Just wish we could have actually got the win though, but no, the battle was good. Besides a little incident in turn one, which I kind of came down. Luckily, the car didn't get killed. Was hoping to battle him to the end, but obviously that yellow came out and had a 2-second lead over him, and then was allowed Zier and then kind of get back up there and kind of just shuffled everything out. But yeah, it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Moving further on, obviously,
It just get what we can get. Every point matters, and obviously got lucky enough to get 2 stage wins, and pretty much it was just there was nothing really wrong with it. I was trying everything, and then just as soon as I got behind a car, it just got tight every time. As soon as I had the clean air, the right front was better tire wise, so it's just I really just needed the clean air.
Mm-hmm. Last question, obviously, looking at next week is Atlanta. You obviously got some good points here, made some good inroads. Obviously, Atlanta, you won in the regular season. So thoughts on Atlanta? You think we see you go back-to-back?
It is a peach state. Maybe, but obviously, Atlanta's that wild card, and really looking at that, it was try to get out of here with a good finish, and obviously a lot of playoff drivers had not a lot of success tonight, so that should help us tremendously in the points and give us a little bit of a buffer. But I think we can. I mean, the last 4 plate tracks, besides the 500 in the last lap, and we got turned coming to the checkers. So, I mean, we finished top 5, top 3 in the last 4. So I think we have a chance. It's just going to be surviving. But obviously, coast to coast, and the Liberty cars are really good. So is Blake Henderson's team at those plate tracks. So it's just going to be trying to find who we can work with, and obviously play our cards right and maybe come out and win again, but just maybe a little less drama. But
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, you had a good race out there. Does anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever? The floor is yours. Take it away.
obviously got to shout out NJV Noah Blackwell Designs for painting this car. Did a hell of a job on it with the little Sour Patch Kids on it. Gave him a hell of a ride against the wall. I kind of brushed the right side up a little bit, so I'll probably let him keep that. And then obviously Pizza and Wings, NFG, all y'all do for the broadcast. Blake for allowing me to race, and everybody that's an admin, all the drivers for. I thought it was a pretty clean race. Everybody raced pretty respectfully, gave room. And yeah, just about it. And everybody watching. Yeah.
All right, great talking to you, Hunter Peach. Wish you well, and hope we can be talking to you at Atlanta next week. So take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, as well.
And that was our third place, Hunter Peach. And we're going to move on quite nicely to our second place finisher, who will hear Dustin Hall, as he will join us in just a second. Dustin, this is Kevin, the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Long time no here. It looks like you had a great car up there, and we'll start at the beginning again. That thing also looked like it was on rails. Obviously, you didn't have the greatest qualifying, but you found your way at the end of stage 1 up to the front. So take us through that first stage and that second stage. What made you so successful in that number 12?
Actually, I mean, doors just kind of opened up in that first stage. There was pretty good give and take throughout those early stages, but I knew I wanted to be in front of the mayhem before it began. Yeah, I mean, holes opened up. I took what they gave me, gave nothing back, and we found ourselves up front. I did not have the success that Hunter and Josh, Susie, some of those tire savers. Well, I say Hunter had speed and could still manage tire, which was kind of baffling to me. I still have a lot to learn, but I tell you, Kevin, it does feel good to be talking to you guys again.
Mm-hmm. It is great to talk to you as well. Obviously, again, long season, haven't had the great success you've wanted, but obviously playoffs bring the best out of drivers. Moving on, first stages, you finished second. In second, you looked good. And then in the final stage, you got around Peach. So kind of takes to that thought process in that pit stop window, because you went the longest. Were you thinking overcut was the best way? Because you went undercut in the first stage, and it almost worked out, but obviously you got caught in the end. So were you thinking more of an overcut, or were you just ready to hit a number regardless of what everyone else did around you?
Yeah, I was mostly looking for a safe space to decelerate and get down on pit road. That was a big part of it. Also, I don't know, maybe it was a little bit of overconfidence or hubris in me, in my ability to get on pit road and off pit road faster than the others. I think that's where I ended up passing Hunter. I was ahead of him, but he short pit me by a lap, and I still managed to stay in front of him just from the pit cycle. But Lilac nailed her pit entry and exit, evidently, because I come out after only 2 laps of an overcut, and she's got over 3 seconds on me. So I had to lay the pedal to the metal and get after it and hope that I could get there and still have enough tire to go to battle. But just want to win a race. It's been so dang long,
Yeah.
I feel like Kyle Busch out here.
Mm-hmm. Second and second. Again, I've heard a bunch of times this year, second does suck. Speaking onward, that last 10, 15 laps, we saw you battling. We saw lap traffic play a factor. We saw Sosi, who I don't know if you did or did not, had a bit of a run-in with Zier. What was going through those last 10 and 15 laps with your battle with Zier there? Did you think you had anything you could do to get around that number 50?
Maybe. When Sosi made his move, I could have really slung it into 3, but I'd already caught up. So I didn't know that I had already, plateaued to a point where I was on pace or slower in that dirty air. So I didn't throw it in there. That may have been the race win. That may have been both of us wrecked. So I don't know, but I used a little bit of patience there. I guess I'll just be left wondering whether it was the right move or not. I kind of feel like it was, because it left us an opportunity to fight another day. But given my history with the 81, I had no idea what he was doing, and I had no idea there was a prior altercation in the race with Lilac. So I didn't know that I wasn't the one that was being messed with at that point. I knew there were some shenanigans going on. It was less than 10 laps. I wouldn't do what he did and pull up between the lead 2 cars, but to each their own. Everybody's got a wheel and pedals. They can approach their race as they see fit.
Mm-hmm. Last question. Obviously, Atlanta on the cards. Last time we were at Atlanta, you didn't have the greatest run. I think you had some technical issues early that took you out of contention. But with momentum, seeing the turn a corner here, thoughts on the track as well? Do you think it's a track we can see you keep that forward momentum going, maybe get a win, or at the very least, give yourself more of a cushion in the top 8? I
would just love to survive with a good point stay there. optimism going into any plate track has to be tempered. There's no way that I can go in thinking, hey, I'm a great plate racer and I'm going to go light the world on fire, because that's really not my bag. It's just I feel like I do fine and I can put myself in positions to move, but I can also 9 times out of 10 put myself where the wreck is about to happen. So it's just going to be a matter of surviving it and getting out of there with a good points day. That's my threshold. That's my bar that I've got set for Atlanta.
That's a good bar to have at the very least. Make sure you get out and keep the good chimes going. Well, we got to the portion of the show. If there's anything you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever, floor is yours. Take it away.
A huge thanks to you guys at ABN. You guys put on a great show for us week in, week out, and really kind of, headline our, our hobby of driving cartoon race cars on Monday nights. So big thanks to you guys. I've got to thank some sponsors, Coley Hockman Productions, Blanket Chip Freight Lines, the HTL for putting all this together, Henderson Graphics, Blake for giving me something to run, and I believe it's Gibney for kicking us the loaner charter so that I could have a place to call home. BFL, and then of course Martin PC and Team Conti and Team Conti Sim Performance for all they do for me and for getting us out on the track.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been great talking to Dustin Hall. Hopefully we'll talk to you for the end of the season. But regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
And that was Dustin Hall, our second place finisher. We only got one driver left. It's the Lady Stepping Stone. It's Lilac's here. We'll talk to her now. Lilac, this is Kevin A. Van Booth. You got a copy?
Hello.
Obviously, you had a very eventful race as well. But we'll always start at the beginning with these conversations. First stage, you looked very strong, but then you got that speeding pedal and you had to recover. So kind of take us through your thought process through that first stage where you got that speeding pedal and it was all about trying to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, that was dumb. I got into the pit lane okay, and then I was looking around at the cars in their box to make sure they didn't come out and on my left rear, and just missed the speed limit when I was getting too close to my box. So that wasn't great. And then I had to take the wave around because there was another car that got the lucky dog. And as soon as I ran out of fuel in the beginning of stage 2 and had to pit again, then the caution came out right as I was pitting. So that actually kind of saved me because I only went one down and could take the wave around again and had fresh tires. So then I was at the back, so just had to, drive up through there and work my way up to the top 10 and top 5. And
Yeah, we saw you carving your way for the field in that second stage, got 10 and 5. Moving onward, we saw you in that the final stage, you're driving hard, driving maybe a bit aggressive. We'll get to that in a second. But when the final pit stops occurred, you came for the undercut. And I was talking the broadcast, you're the person that loves those undercuts. So take us through that thought process for that final pit stop. Was the undercut truly the strategy to get you ahead, or maybe was it just lucky timing that you came in first?
Yeah, no, I wanted to go a few more laps than that, but I thought it would still be an undercut at that point. And then some of the people further back started pitting, and I thought I'd better go now, or else it's going to be too late to do that strategy. So, yeah, it worked out pretty good. Got ahead of Dustin that way because he would have been hard to pass. It was you could pass, but not on old tires. Once the grip's kind of gone, it's a little harder. So I got in front, and then I think at the end there, he was in my dirty air and, just burned his stuff up catching me. And it was probably, the right strategy to do the undercut, I think.
Mm-hmm. Moving further on, obviously with 10 laps to go. Well, I guess it's a two-part question, but 10 laps to go, we saw Sosi come out of the pit lane, and he happened to come right into your pathway there. So I guess first off, we know you had that little incident, Sosi. If there's anything you want to add on that, go right ahead. But at the same point, thoughts when Sosi was kind of battling you and kind of in between you and Hall? What you were expecting to happen, I guess?
Yeah, I knew he was kind of messing with me. I mean, look, everyone makes mistakes, right? I wasn't trying to wreck him. I was trying to go inside of him, and he came left more than I was ready for. So, maybe that's on me, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. He's won a bunch of races. He's wrecked a bunch of cars. Everybody wrecks cars. Everybody makes mistakes, but I'm sure he'll get over it. And if he doesn't and he takes me out in a future race, well, then so be it. I don't care. Whatever.
Hey, positive mindset to have at the very least. Just kind of live and let live. Obviously, again, with your win here, obviously, with this win here, actually, I'll have one more thought here. With that battle with Hall closing, were you also a little bit worried as well? Because Hall was really closing up there, but you were saying old tires made it a bit hard to pass. Were you worried about the runs Hall was getting in those last 10 laps?
Yeah, I was. I mean, he closed on me from almost 3 seconds back. The closing rate was manageable, and then once he got to me, I thought he might be able to make a move, but I think I weathered the storm a little bit, and then he started to drop back in the last couple laps there. So I was at that point, I was just trying to make sure that no one wrecked me out and hold on to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, lastly, obviously, with your win, you do not have really, as long as you make the next 2 weekends, that win should count, so there's no threat on that. But with Atlanta next week, obviously, with the pressure's off, what's your mindset going in this race? Helping some other stepping stone teammates, just trying to survive, not getting any penalties? What's your mindset for these next 2 weeks now that you have that win in the back pocket?
I mean, yeah, I'll just kind of take them as they come and not be under any pressure for the next 2 weeks. That will be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of take it easy, help teammates where possible, and if I can get a good stage points or a good finish, then I will. But I won't do anything desperate.
Fair enough. Obviously, we got to the part of the show. If anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yep. I want to thank my team, James, team owner, and my teammates. All of them were great to help out today. They're all pulling with one goal in mind, and that was to have good runs for all of us. And thanks to the broadcast team and ABN and HTL for putting this on. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Great talk to you, Lilac. As always, you take care and have a good rest of your week.
All right. Thanks. See you.
And that was our winner, Lilac here. And that will do it tonight for interviews. And we'll throw it back to Carmen, who will have the final thoughts.
A wild race here this evening. Obviously, we know how crazy of a race this was just throughout from start to finish. And again, we can walk through the standings just one more time here. A fantastic run for Lilac Zier, a race winner once again in HTL, this time taking a crown jewel, the Southern 500 ahead of Dustin Hall and Hunter Peach. Very interesting, sort of the perspective from Zier on the run-ins there, not only with Josh Susi, but with Caitlin Height. I think that's something we're going to need to keep an eye on here over the next few, maybe not next. Obviously, I don't think that it really affects this round much at all with Zier already into the round of 8. But I think you have to look at like tracks like Watkins Glen and Chicagoland in the round of 8, and Bristol especially, where it could be very imperative. I think there could be some shenanigans coming down the line there for that 50 car based on tonight. That is a team, the Lady Liberty Motorsports crew, they do not forget easily. So kind of keep an eye out on how the season progresses with that 50 car and everything going on between Stepping Stone and Lady Liberty there. But a good result for those that needed it. Dustin Hall needed this result. Zach Meredith really needed this result. Arnold needed this result. Wygant needed this result. As you look through the top 10 there, or top 12 there. Bad races, not so good for Henderson, but it's not impossible. He got really good stage points there in stage 1. They kind of softened that blow a little bit. And Josh Susi's in that boat as well. His buffer that he had going in is gone. This is a pretty wide open stanza now. We know that Zier's one of the cars in. With Atlanta coming in, we know how much of a team game that is. What does that look like in 7 days? And then Kentucky to end off the round of 16. It'll be spicy, to say the least, especially with Kentucky being the place where we've seen photo finishes before. We could see more of that become the case in 2 weeks. It's very exciting. It's very fun being a part of everything here tonight. And obviously, there's still a lot more racing to go. Obviously, we go to Atlanta tomorrow a little bit early for the HTL Hammer Down Truck Series. Their regular season ends tomorrow night here on ABN Esports 1. And then Wednesday, we head over to Pocono Raceway for the ABN Champ Car World Series. Second part 2 of the Crown Jewel races in the ABN Champ Car World Series this season. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We get to see a lot of racing going on this week, and we hope everyone joins us for it. I This was a fantastic race. This was a very quintessential Darlington event, and I have a feeling this is one of those races where if you don't like it, I have a feeling you're just not going to like Darlington races at all. So I think overall, all things being said, a really good earned result for Lilac Zero for everyone that finished in that top 5, the top 10 positions here. The points are going to be shaken up. They're going to be shaken up even more next week. This is the roller coaster ride that we've been waiting for. The drivers dread it, but it's fantastic to watch and fantastic to be a part of. So we invite everyone to come back next Monday, and we invite you all to come and join us Tuesday and Wednesday as well, because it's flat out racing all the way through.
Yeah, it is going to be beautiful, beautiful racing. Now, obviously, catch us on Mondays here on Twitch. Kristina and Joe will be back next week, hopefully, even though love having you in the booth as well, Carmen. It's great to see you back here.
Yeah, hopefully I get to race a little bit more. Obviously, my home race, Kentucky. Hopefully I'll be on track for that one. But we're going to have some fun with it. Fantastic to be back in the booth with you, Kevin. Obviously, haven't been able to do much with Sundays with everything going on with Winstel in that gang. But yeah, now we're entering the fall, so things are changing. And it's time for business to pick up here, not only for HTL, but across the board with Winstel and AB and Champ Car. So everyone tuning in, on behalf of everyone here, I'm my commentator Kevin Young, as always. I'm Carmen Sienna. I'll be on track tomorrow, maybe, potentially. I'll be on track Wednesday for sure. We'll see you all next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. If you had a 3-day weekend, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next time. Join us in Atlanta.